Hey everyone, welcome back to the home studio. Welcome to episode 92 of the Stevie Richards Show. Today we are going to continue our coverage of WrestleMania, the bumpy road to WrestleMania, and that title came from the SEO expert, my co-host, James Morrow.
I just put it on the title.
I almost messed up your name. We talked
about this. I mess up my own name. It's fine. It just, for some reason, it doesn't flow.
James you mess up your name and you mess up your name. You should have a show.
We need to get to the intro straight away. So we did a Patreon. We do the Patreon watch long before we record the main body of the show every single week. And somebody finally submitted a suggestion for Tony Gurria. And I don't know why we're going to do Johnny Ace next week, probably.
Please be more specific. That is like a double entendre. We're not doing Johnny Ace at all.
No, I like that. Innuendo? In your end.
Hey, everybody have fun on Patreon.
Everybody have
fun. They like your impression better, by the way. They like your impression better than mine.
I can't do it, though. I've worn my voice out, way too quickly on it. It's like doing a Randy Savage impression.
You already need 2 vocal implants to really get the impression down without pain.
Can you do a Savage impression? Or is it just
way God. I mean, if you want to have a 3-hour show today, that will not work. I think there's a comedian that does a great impression. I forget his name. Mark Norman? No, the other guy. I forget his name. Obviously, Jay Lethal. And if I could do a Savage impression, don't you think I would call Danny Doring every day as Randy Savage, talking about how I had an amazing time wrestling Stevie Richards and not him in the night of upsets in Salt Lake City for Monday Nitro.
So now we need to have somebody who can do a Savage impression, do like 20 different voice notes that you can forward on to Danny Doring.
That'd be great. Kind of like, pull the string on the Savage doll and he says the sayings. Mm-hmm. Oh, that would be amazing. Speaking of amazing, just to give a little quick story, last week we talked about Retro Jakes, that YouTube channel and store that I watch all the time, and they have all the used games, physical media, everything. I had a great conversation with Jake yesterday about potential future collaborations between myself, you, the show, or just in general. And once again, we were told to start a gaming channel. So maybe the serendipity will fall in line and it'll happen. But dude, we talked about, the love for video games, especially retro games. And I'm probably going to end up buying a Wii Sports Resort replay and Wii Sports from him. So, but you said buy a Wii U, not an original Wii.
Yeah, because you need to get Wii Sports Resort, which I thought Wii Sports Resort was for the Wii U, but maybe I'm mistaken there.
Is it backwards compatible to the original Wii, or is that a whole new?
So you can play everything on the Wii U. You can play everything on the Wii U, but the Wii is backwards compatible to the GameCube. But it depends what you're after. I think I've got that wrong. I think Wii Sports Resort was on the Wii, but I can't. Did they make any motion games for the Wii U? Because I remember they brought out one that wasn't very good, and it was like a zombie thing, like where you had they tried to do like a Shaun of the Dead thing with a cricket bat,
I do remember that. I bought the Wii U for one game and one game alone, the Batman game, where they advertised the utility belt and all the HUD features on that, like less than ideal, no multi-touch screen, and it was painful. That was very much an experimental system. I guess that was their beta system to lead up to the original Switch.
Yeah, I remember one of my friends, I mentioned the Wii U and was like, "What's the Wii U?" And he was like a gamer, not like a mad gamer, but he had a young kid who was buying stuff, keeping his ear to the ground on that kind of on gaming stuff. And after a year of it being out, he'd never heard of the Wii U. I was like, well, what is it? It's like an additional add-on, like the 32X or something, like a plug-and-play. No, it's like a brand new console. Oh, but, it's called the Wii U, though. I mean, surely it's just... They couldn't... Because the marketing was so bad for the Wii U, because it wasn't different, it hadn't differentiated itself practically at all from the original Wii. I think that was their biggest mistake, is that they just completely marketed that thing. When the Switch came out, I remember thinking they made a massive mistake, because I saw how the Wii U went. But at least with the Switch, it was absolutely obviously clear it was a brand new console. And it was a console as well. And I mean, they proved me wrong.
Oh, yeah. But just remember, Nintendo, actually, we got the saying wrong last week, talking about gaming and ownership and not owning anything. Nintendo is the one that really recently came out and said, you do not own the games, you just own the right to play them. And that caused, actually, the Switch 2 sales, I think, really went down. That's what Jake and I were talking about as well, because I was like, should I get a Switch? He goes, tell you the truth, my wife and I have the Switch Sports, which they took things out and charged more money for the game. And he goes, we haven't picked that up more than the first time. We go back to the Wii and play all those, the Wii Sports. We play in Wii Sports or the original Wii stuff. I think Wii Sports Resort was the Wii U upgrade, if I'm not mistaken.
No, the Wii U was an entirely separate console, which is bizarre.
No, I'm saying the game released that third Wii. We play Wii Sports, and now Wii Sports Resort was the third in the series.
So Wii Sports Resort was the second of the sporting ones, and I think I was wrong. I think that came out on the Wii. But then there was something that was like a pack-in game for the Wii U that I played once and didn't think it was very good, and I kind of just gave up on it immediately. It's like the pack-in game for the Wii U was terrible as well. They did nothing right with that thing. They made some great like first-party games. You know, like I was saying, like Pikmin. I loved. I've got a controversial one for you, but this is a Wii game. You're not the biggest Mario fan, are you?
Not really. No. I mean, I'll play it, but I'm not going to go nuts for the movie or anything like that.
Mario Galaxy is like as overrated a game as it gets. And like everyone was like, 10 out of 10, best game ever. It's too gimmicky, man. Those little planets, it was like, dude, I just thought it was too gimmicky, and you had to get the Wiimote and like point it at the screen to like collect all the gems or whatever. And it was just annoying. And the best bits about that game is where they didn't have that planetoid system, and they just had like linear Mario 64 style exploratory, levels. They were the best bits. Mario Galaxy 2 had more of that, and that's the better of the two games. But I've no love for those two, Galaxy at all. One of my friends still swears up and down the best game he ever played was Mario Sunshine. And for all its flaws, it's way more charming. I love Mario Sunshine. Maybe it's the music, I don't know. But it's not got that many levels either.
The only two games I really played a whole lot was obviously Mario Kart and then Mario Party. Because those games really do shine with the multiplayer pick up and play aspect of what it's supposed to be.
If we're just doing the mainstream Mario games, I'll say the one on the DS that was like in 2005, like New Mario Brothers DS or whatever, and all those 2D games they brought afterwards, they're all great. They're all... I still love Super Mario World, man. I mean, I love it so much I've got that Mario and Yoshi deal on the back there that I've still not made. But...
it's bigger than the YouTube plaque.
Dude, I need another YouTube plaque now. So, like, I need a half-size one. So then I can have, like, a hexagon of these things, and they're kind of symmetrical.
Do you think the next one's going to be even smaller than this one?
If they do that, I'd be so annoyed.
That'd be great. By the way, we're already about 8-9 minutes in. We should have a gaming channel. How's that? We already just ate up 9 minutes.
Dude, I barely play, though. That's the problem. If I play Warzone. I play Warzone. I'll play Trackmania for a bit. Very occasionally, I'll go into Grand Theft Auto 5 and go to the casino to gamble, and that's it.
The wrestler in me wants to say, you said WWF Warzone? Is that what you're talking about, or actually a Warzone call? Are you serious? That's the one you're playing?
Oh, no, of course. No, which one did I say? No, GTA.
Grand Theft Auto Warzone. I think of WWF Warzone.
I never said Warzone.
You said Warzone.
Oh, that Warzone. Yeah, Call of Duty Warzone.
But the wrestler in me was thinking of this, because that's all I can remember from the game.
Oh, dear, I'd love it. I love Warzone, man. Just like, if they ever take Verdansk away from me again, I'm honestly, like, I'm going to set myself on fire like that monk.
Well, I'll tell you what, if we start a gaming channel, we need to get some product, because I can't afford these prices. We'll go bankrupt. This will be subsidizing the gaming channel, because all the money we have to put out.
Dude, I've got an idea for you. There's one thing I know that will make you pick up WWE 2K26 again. One addition. Tony Gurria.
Oh, the Do-Si-Do edition. I get it.
Yeah. The smart.
Can you imagine I would love, like, somebody out there, community creations, please create Tony Garea and Rick Martel, make Martel like a 95. And if you can make a negative number for Garea, because the match we watched, he was supposed to just give people a preview of the Patreon watch along. It's the old, he did a suplex, covers, the Moondog grabs the bone. And what do you think? Well, he's going to hit him in the back of the neck as he's covering, flip the pile. Garea, by the way, here's the lay of the land. Albano's back here towards the hard camera, distracting the ref. Garea's in the middle, covering. Moondog's in this corner, going towards the center to try to hit a covering Tony Garea on the other Moondog, not the Demolition Moondog. He'll come later. And then Garea just gets up and literally must have seen a ghost because he walked towards an empty corner and the guy's like, whoa, 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 and then finally hits him. What were we watching?
Is Tony Garea really just a bad wrestler? Because, I mean,
Yes.
I've not watched a Garea match in
Can I
quite a few
pause?
years. That stunk. That was a stinky performance. Rick Martel did 90% of the work and looked good. I mean, it was all arm drags and arm rings and that, but... And then Tony Garea comes out and throws these George Gula-style punches to the belly and then messes up the finish.
Yeah, like just gets up and literally walks to an empty corner, right? Nobody's there. And not Martel's not even there to check on him. And there we are. And I'm looking at it and I'm just like, they do complement each other extremely well as a tag team.
Opposites attract. If you want to see that entire match and Stevie kind of just like pointing and laughing at Tony Garea for 20 minutes straight, I advise you join the Stevie Richards Show Patreon. Links are in the description of this video and all videos. Please do join us there. We have a exclusive watch along every single week, as well as the show before the show, which seems to get longer every single week as well. Show notes, other stuff, more exclusive behind the scenes things with Stevie. Unlike, as I said on the Patreon, weirdly, unlike other Patreon people, we give you more for your money every single week, where other people kind of get Patreon fatigue and give you less to nothing. So don't you worry about, a lack of content. Stevie's always on there giving you more than you bargained for, if nothing else. Plus,
you may not want it, but you're going to get it.
Oh, you're going to get it. You even get like thumbnail previews sometimes, just occasional one that Stevie just really likes that I do. And then he uploads those as well. We also, Stevie also has the Stevie Richards cameo, of course. He's one of the most popular celebrities, not just wrestlers, on the entire Cameo website, because he, once again, gives you more than your money's worth every single time with the video length, the price he charges, etc. I advise you, once again, all to go there if you want a cameo, give yourself a treat. I've got a channel as well. So...
you got a great channel. Let's go to that. You're getting very close, or you're accelerating towards 100,000 subscribers to prove the theory that YouTube is making every single plaque smaller as time goes on. But I do have a great update that I should have let off with. It's great news. Remember Chris? Chris with the GoFundMe, and they weren't giving him much time. I've been in contact with his friend Jack, and through Jack, I've been able to get updates on Chris, the family, how everybody's doing. Great news. He has more time than originally expected now. So we may be talking about not months, but over a year or even years, depending upon how treatment goes and other things. So things are definitely looking up. We're still in a situation, obviously, that he's just trying to make memories with the kids, with his wife, with everybody who loves and cares about him. But it looks like there is at least more time for Chris, and that is welcome news. It might not be the best news, but prayer I have is that a miracle happens and the dude stays around forever, but at least it's trending towards a better direction for him and his family.
Yeah, absolutely. We were going to do, just to let people in on what we were going to do, we were going to do My Behest ECW November to Remember 1995. It's one of the first ECW shows, probably the first one I ever saw, because I got it on video and I thought it'd be great to go back there. Meanie debuts, you're wrestling. Who are you wrestling on it? I didn't watch it.
El Puerto Ricano. He was that was Pablo Marquez. I said his name completely
El Puerto
wrong.
Ricano.
There you go. Great. The English accent never fails, but the Philly one does. Pablo Marquez, who was Babu in WWF at one time. And yes, he the debut with the blue meanie with pushing him up to do the moonsault because he didn't want to do it. But there's a lot of backstory to actually. That was my first time working with Meanie, and we'll get to that when we finally get to that episode, but I think now we do the WrestleMania news and push and stuff like that.
Yeah, we were going to. I told the Stevie I'd written so much because so much has happened this last week, and then I'd realised just before we started, because editor Chris called me and said, "Oh, you're doing Chris Jericho's debut," and I was like, I'd completely forgotten about it. So WWE, if nothing else, have done a wonderful job at completely changing the narrative on that one, because that was big news 5 days ago, and now it's completely in the ether now, with everything else from Pat McAfee onwards, but we'll get to everything. First off, before we just get to a piece of news, you've been threatening to tell these stories for a while, and we've always said we'd do it for a WrestleMania-themed show. It's kind of WrestleMania because we're on the bumpy road to WrestleMania, the after parties. And you've been to a few over the years, the country club ass-kissing parties, as you have termed them. And how many have you been to all the years? Were these mandatory things?
No, they were voluntary. Of course. Yeah, you got to show your face at the WrestleMania after party. My go-to would be to go to the gym after WrestleMania and just basically one year I even did cardio in my suit just to pop the poison. I had somebody take a picture of it. But yeah, this is not so much, I would term it a little bit more positively than the country club aspect, although that is heavily into this. This, I would say, would be the political maneuvering, developing leverage, developing your plan politically for the creative push for the next year to year. As a matter of fact, I've seen a lot of people who have been at that party telling Hunter and Vince and Stephanie how great they are, how much they're geniuses, and they appreciate any opportunity in the coming year. Next thing you know, that Monday on Raw, this person has a new lease on life, new character, ready to like get in the rocket ship and go to the moon type thing. So it's a real thing, and it matters that you go to that in order to do that. You know, they have a great spread of food. They have people, everybody celebrating usually a really great show, which WrestleMania is the climax of the entire creative year, and then the reset happens after that. So there's a lot of celebrating to do, and I can appreciate all the time, work, and effort, especially production-wise and the moving parts, that you want to give somebody a big party to celebrate that, but it's mostly to get Vince's ear, Hunter's ear, because Hunter was figured in politically at the middle and the end of my time there. And of course, Stephanie from 2002 on being head of creative, you want to grease the wheels creatively for the next year. So it's actually a higher end, how should I say, wedding reception, high school prom, ass kissing session. How's that? You know, I hate to use the A word rather than the butt word, but it's really, people are laying it on heavy. And then there's people that are trying to avoid everybody that they've been trying to avoid over the course of the year as well. I'm one of those people.
I've got to ask this. Has anyone ever gone up to Triple H, even if he wasn't in the main event, and said, "Thank you for the house"?
Not thank you for the house, but you had the best match on WrestleMania,
Oh, really?
No matter where you are. I've heard that. Dude, I heard from a person that was at the party for the Arizona one that was 25 or 24, 26, maybe. I'm not sure. 24 was Orlando. I was released after 24 in 2008. But there were people that went up to Vince and told him and Brett had the best match on the show. And this is Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. I believe that this was the retirement match, right? The second one they had? Or was this the first in Arizona?
2010 was when Shawn retired.
25 was Dallas, I believe, and that was their first one. Then the rematch was
in Arizona.
26 in Arizona.
Yeah.
But that was the Brett and Vince one where all the Hearts
that was an
did stuff to
atrocity.
Vince. Nope, they told Vince he had the best match on the show.
Who's they? You must name names.
I can't name names because they're still there.
Oh, no. Oh, well, that's not surprising.
You know,
they're willing to lie to his face like that.
If they weren't good people, then I would totally say their name.
Oh, man. You're going to have to tell me.
So there's the
afterwards.
shorter list right there. It's a good person that currently works for WWE.
Dude. Yeah, like that build to that match was so good, and the match itself was just it was a catastrophe. I
Has
mean, it was
Brett
like
ever commented on it?
it was after that happened after he wrote his book. I don't know. I would love to know, because the thing is, weirdly enough, because obviously Brett couldn't take bumps, he couldn't take a shot to the head. There was little he could do, but then he was doing like trios matches with the Hart Dynasty, and Natty outside against whoever he was, like Heath Slater or whoever, Nexus most likely. And he was hitting elbows off the second rope. He was doing backbreakers. He was looking great. And his punches look great still. Brett could do a lot more than what he did in that match with Vince.
But he also won the U.S. title from Miz during that period as well.
Yeah, but he didn't do anything in that match either. It was weird. And then I think he never lost it. He vacated it.
He put that sharpshooter on like it was 92, Brett.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that. Poor Miz is still recovering.
So I'm sure they differed somewhat over the years, these after parties, but roughly, what kind of spread are they having? What kind of music they have? I'm guessing they've got live bands and stuff.
You know what? I don't recall seeing, like, they might have had a DJ, but I don't recall an actual full live band. I can't remember that. But they did possibly have DJs. There was definitely music. I'm telling you, the only thing I can say is huge wedding reception type vibe to it, with everything, with the food spread and everything, everybody celebrating. And obviously, there is a lot to celebrate, as I said. I'm not downing the party, but there's a huge political aspect to this that once that starts up and my belly's full, I'm out. I'm going to the gym, or I'm coming back from the gym to grab some food. And I'll usually be outside. One year I told somebody, hey man, I worked out. Can you go in and get me some sushi or something? And they brought me out to go plate with that. So it was pretty nice. But I popped my head in for that for like 2 minutes, walked around, let everybody see me. Of course, I went up and thanked Vince for it. One time I thanked Vince for the opportunity when I wasn't even on the show. Thanks for the opportunity, boss. You're welcome, pal. We'll get you next year. I'm sure you will.
Were there any good parties that you actually enjoyed?
I didn't say I didn't enjoy them. It's just like you're around these people all the time. And it's just like, and think about WrestleMania week, not even just that weekend. This is an entire week where after Raw and SmackDown, when we were taping Monday and Tuesday, or live Raw, tape SmackDown, you're going right from there. Usually it's a flight. You're never in the vicinity there, but you literally fly the next morning, and then you're there from Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, all the way up until the Raw and SmackDown after that. And then you factor in when the Hall of Fame came along, dude, you're there on the bus at like 4 p.m. You get there, and you're not getting out of there till probably 2, 3 a.m. Because, it's past 1 or 2 have been different. But back then, it was literally like, there was no like, wrap it up, B, like, and the wrap up music. There was nothing like that. And it was just painful. And then, of course, you get in there and the seating, it's all pecking order seating, Hunter, everybody up front. I'm waiting, you know what I mean? You got to play that
it's a
game.
sit-down affair then, mostly?
For the Hall of Fame or the
No, I'm sorry, for the party, the after party.
No, the party isn't, there's tables. Like I said, just visualize a wedding reception, a huge one with hundreds of people. You have your tables, but you have people kind of mingling around, going. Some people are in and out of the room, going out in the lobby, going back to the room, coming back down. There's all that stuff going on.
Any other time, is it different, like to like gorilla position or whatever? Do you just have to, at these like receptions, do you have to have your guard up more than normal, or like watch what you say? Because, like, for example, Rhino got fired because of an incident, because he was arguing with his wife in like 2006 or whenever it was.
Yeah, I think something happened where he actually knocked over a plant or something. It was a little bit more than just obviously you never want to get in an argument or have any kind of personal issues that are exposed to that, especially on that week, and especially that weekend from Hall of Fame till WrestleMania party. Yeah, the public eye is looking at everything. So if you're going to be having any kind of incident like that, they're hypersensitive to shutting that down because that is like the most positive week or weekend of the WWE calendar year. And if anybody gets a hold of that local news, oh, WrestleMania came to town. We were body slamming their way into town or suplexing the competition. But did you know that Rhino and his wife got in a fight? We have some. And if it's today, what do you got? You got 100 people doing this. That's not good. So, yeah, I mean, they're very hypersensitive to the PR aspect of WWE and WrestleMania during that weekend.
Yeah, I guess so, but it's weird because they don't.
But you're going
film.
back to the politics. Dude, there's never a time where I let my guard down in that company. Never 1 second. I might have said stuff in confidence to somebody, and 100% of the time I regretted it. Yeah. But at that party, yeah, if I'm talking to you, even if it's darkened and there's music or whatever, there's these points and behind me right here where people might be just mingling, but they have an ear. Dude, it is so exhausting. I said that already, but it is.
The other example that I really love is that Kurgan, if you remember him from, well, at the time he was from, what was Truth Commission.
The Oddities. Truth Commission, Oddities, but also in the Sherlock Holmes movie as well. Yeah.
Well, he didn't get a Sherlock Holmes gig through WrestleMania parties, but he did become an oddity because of the WrestleMania party, because apparently he just really wanted to dance. And Don Callis, who was his manager at the time, said, don't do it. If you do not want the office to see something, you do not do it here. But he insisted, so he dragged his wife to the dance floor and, cut a rug in that, Warzone style. And then the next week he was an oddity. It's how it works, I guess, sometimes. But,
for a time, they were very over in their own way with everybody. They had Luna in there, they had Earthquake. They were selling merch. They had the ICP guys in there.
Dude, they were selling South Park merch.
Pretty much.
Yeah. yeah, they were doing great for South. That year, it was between the WWF and South Park for, the hottest kids' toys for Christmas in 98.
So this was the perfect amalgamation of both. Of course, South Park got the edge for merch because they were advertising. But you have to say, what would Kurgan have done? Because he's so very limited and had very limited character during that time, it's almost like a blessing in disguise in a way, even though you're you're not going to be taken seriously. You dare say that the Oddities are still remembered today if you watch the Attitude Era. Yeah, was the Truth Commission anything but an abject failure? Bull Buchanan was in there. Remember?
Oh, yeah. Who was Recon? Sniper.
Who was Recon?
He was a French-Canadian guy, but he was more in Germany. He was more for the catch wrestling people.
He reminded me of a smaller version of Brackus. Or he might, what he looked like? He looked like an American Gladiator. Didn't he? The Recon guy?
He was a big
Maybe
dude.
He was after that. Yeah, he was a big dude. They were all big, Kurgan, of course, they all look small next to him.
Right, let's get to the WrestleMania build. I've got a pretty comprehensive list of the matches now, and I thought we could go through the builds as far as what's been good, what's been bad, what's kind of had a mixed bag as far as you are concerned. And let's get straight to it. World Heavyweight Championship, CM Punk and Roman Reigns. So we're going to be talking about the latest version of, I guess, the Punk Pipebomb promo, easy for me to say, on Raw later on in the episode. But as far as a build goes with CM Punk and Roman Reigns to generate excitement, they've had since the Royal Rumble. How do you think it's gone, ultimately?
Well, I think the pattern is, and this is kind of indicative to what they've done for the past few years, it's gone off to such a slow, ambiguous start from the Rumble, which usually you have everything set in stone, and then you start ramping it up slowly into WrestleMania. The new formula is, after the Rumble, we still got to get through Elimination Chamber, and that usually sometimes bears more creative fruit than the Rumble does. It seems like the Rumbles are flat, and then we kind of coast into there or limp into Elimination Chamber. Sometimes you limp out of it because it's a real cage. But after Elimination Chamber, it seems like this year there's been that real dip or lull, and now we're ramping up 1 or 2 weeks out to really get it going. It feels like they don't have enough creative juice between January to April to carry angles, so they have to kind of limp into these, and then we get the real stuff like 2 weeks out. Do you sort of get that feeling? Like they start like doing the, how can I put it? It's very much like an ADD push, like really, really quick and really like hard there. And we go from 0 to 100 in like a week.
The CM Punk Roman Reigns thing is interesting because it's like Tony Gurria booking. And it's like, hey, your dad's dead and your dad's whatever. Let's talk about it. And then they do that for 2 weeks. And they say, hey, you powerbombed him. Now you powerbomb him. You know, it's very, really, really back and forth. I think the best interview was the Punk one from Monday, even though I don't want to keep going into it because we're going to really do a deep dive into it. But he didn't build up his opponent very much in it either, I found.
No, but it's a tricky spot because you got to get personal at this point and do certain things, say certain things, and you're not getting scripted. I don't think Punk was scripted on this. It sounded like his real voice. We'll get into the details. There's one word during his promo that, strangely enough, my ears perked up. And since we get contacted from a lot of wrestlers and stuff, and I'm not saying, oh, look at us, we maybe a ton of people, wrestling content producers like ourselves, have said it. We used one word over and over again for these two matches, but especially the Punk Roman one. And Punk was really emphasizing this word: safe. We used their match as safe. Punk buried Roman Reigns as the theme for how he buried him was, you're safe. That's why the company goes. Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing the Barry Horowitz here, but I'm saying like that's very strange.
Okay, I think we'll do a thumbs up, thumbs in the middle, thumbs down then. So for the Bill Punk and Roman Reigns so far, I know we've got like 3 major television shows left before WrestleMania, but are you feeling positive, negative? Neither for this.
I'm feeling more interest and anticipation for this because it's getting very real. There's an aspect of the reality too in Punk's promo, in McAfee's promo, and McAfee's shows when he talks about it. What do you got to run with this? Are we in a thing where we're getting real now, but after WrestleMania, let's go back to the fake promos? Probably. Like now that the genie's out of the bottle, Pandora's box has been opened, you've changed the identity of the way the fans are looking at, more specifically, TKO, not just WWE. It's almost like if you go back from this and go back to the vanilla stuff, it's very much a disconnect.
Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. Once again, we're going to be talking about Pat McAfee in a bit, so we won't go too far deep into that. But the run itself was Randy Orton was a good guy, and then he was listening to voices in his head, and now he is bad guy because man on phone talked to him.
Yeah, he got the Manchurian Candidate thing. He got the coded words, and he's ready to go. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
I have to say, up until that point, it was like, okay, the Stephanie thing was kind of a red herring where I said, is Cody turning heel and Randy turning babyface? Because they're still cheering Randy, although McAfee said it's not his hometown anymore. But then you introduce McAfee, who tells nothing but truths that the people want. And are we still supposed to hate Orton and now McAfee because they're actually saying the way the fans feel?
I've got more to say on that, but we'll move on.
Okay, I did. I mean, yeah. I'm giving a very much an overview of it, but it feels like we're going into everybody shooting brother now. Are we going to stop doing shooting after WrestleMania? Are we just doing this to put a shot into the ticket sale? Yeah, the whole thing with Punk with the ticket sales. That's a video in itself. But yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
The Women's Championship, Jade Cargill, Rhea Ripley. For me, this is as by the numbers as it possibly gets. I don't feel engaged with this one at all.
Well, it feels like they haven't put any kind of creative, like all the creative effort seems to be in those 2 male world title matches. That's the way it feels. Obafemi versus Brock has gotten more creative care than this. This match just feels like, okay, well, it's a new match, but what's the interest? I mean, I'm sure they're going to try to hotshot this. That's the word I was trying to think of for the other stuff. They were hotshotting all these angles 2 weeks out of the biggest pay-per-view of the year. What are they going to do? They're going to have their classic, like, brawl the weekend, the go home show between these two? Because Jade, I don't know. You're almost better off not doing anything and letting people anticipate the match. Because if you start brawling, Jade's going to be exposed as being very, very stiff and limited with that. Rhea's got good. Yeah, you're going to get the Warzone fight that you always thought you wanted, but you really don't.
Do you know what? You could kind of say that for all the women's matches on this. I don't think there's been any particular interest in any of the women's matches, and I think that's just the creative lead up. But Stephanie Vakir versus Liv Morgan. Now, there was interest in that weird, and that's going to be what went wrong that's coming up later in the show as well. But that backstage segment where Liv and Roxanne Perez bump heads, it's like, oh my God, you can actually hear the clonk.
Yeah, it's the nauseating. It's like when you take a shoulder block and the wrestler grabs their head, you're like, ooh, I know what it's like to hit the back of my head on something. Yeah, I mean, they may be in concussion protocol right now. I'm just saying goodbye to my wife. Yeah. She's heading out. They may both be in concussion protocol. Everything's canceled for them too.
Next up, Intercontinental Championship ladder match. Penta versus Javon Evans versus Rusev versus Dragon Lee versus JD Madonna. And I believe Rey Mysterio is going to be announced for it as well. So kind of the Money in the Bank style thing. Do you just have to have one wacky match with a bunch of high flyers and Rusev?
Yeah, Rusev's probably like, well, what do I do? I mean, he could probably be the MVP of this if people are flying around getting caught. What's that?
The catcher.
Pretty much, yeah. By the way, Rusev, if people start diving through the ropes, put the forearms up. Let them push you off. A little bit of advice there. Rio Sky might want to take that advice later in the show.
Why can't they get Carmelo Hayes wedged into this as well? I don't see any reason why not. Does it have to be
he's a U.S. champion?
That's Trick Williams, isn't it? No, Sami Zayn is the U.S. champion.
Oh, he won it against Carmelo Hayes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and he's wrestling Trick Williams at WrestleMania.
That's
Where's Ilya Dragunov? He's not even on. He's been on SmackDown like every week.
Well, he's knocked himself out every week too, so he's probably in concussion protocol too. No, that's an interesting one for Trick Williams, man. That's a succeed or fail type thing of WrestleMania with that. And Sammy would be a good guy to work around a bigger guy like that, and he's got to make that guy in that match, especially if Sammy's going over. Very, very important with that. But yeah, Carmelo Hayes, maybe they'll throw him in there in the last second because I'd be ready between him, Javon Evans, Penta, and then what could be done with who else is in it? I know Rusev. Did I miss anybody?
Yeah. Oh, Dragon Lee's in it. But then do you know what would be cool is they actually had Ray Phoenix in as well. He's nowhere.
You said that what would be cool? Yeah, this is a what would be cool match. Why not just make it 10 dudes in there? Just go for it. Give them all payoff.
Do you know what they should do? And they never did it again. Was, WrestleMania 2000 where they just had the absolute 40 people after the hardcore title thing? I loved that. Yeah, they messed up the finish. But it's not the point. Like we had hardcore and Crash and Taz and all of the Mean Street Posse and half the old ministry.
Pete Gas was bleeding. He got hit in the back of the head with that cookie sheet or whatever. Oh my God, that was so much color. And then of course the finish with the candy jar and Bob and Crash, and Bob ended up winning it as a shoot because Tim White, I think it was, counted too early. That's hard to do, man. Don't give 10, you make it look easy, but the timing of that, especially like you said, 40 guys into that, which you might as well have made the main event 40 guys because those four, the quadruple threat match, but everybody with McMahon in every corner. That's coming up soon.
Oh, God, yeah. Women's Intercontinental Championship, AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch.
Well, according to Roman Reigns, she's more over than Punk, but they haven't pushed her like it. This is really very much like Becky Lynch is going to win it back. AJ might go away for a bit.
U.S. Championship, Sami Zayn versus Trick Williams. He's
very interesting. Do you think Carmelo Hayes will be added in as a triple threat match at the last second?
I don't think so. I don't know. That's a bit of a sad one.
You know what stinks about that is Carmelo Hayes now, I saw when he won the U.S. title and he started to defend it, the fans started to get behind him. The fans started to really, since he was a heel, now he was a babyface kind of, but people started to really like what he was doing. He was getting some of the biggest reactions on SmackDown outside of the main event guys, and then you just take the U.S. title off him. Really strange. Not even saving it for him and Sammy at WrestleMania for him to drop the title.
The Women's Tag Team Championship Fatal 4-Way, my God, the Irresistible Forces versus Bella Twins, who were presuming they're going to... That was one of the what went wrongs we didn't bother doing last week, because I think you were going to consider doing some on your own, then you looked at them and went, oh, I can't be bothered with this. That was basically
It's pretty obvious. What do you want to be, 20 seconds? So, hey, just look at it. Vince McMahon, hey, pal, just look at it.
Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss versus Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. Geez, they've been plugging this on both shows.
There's way too many matches. What is Bruce thinking?
I know. Yeah, how many are there? There are 14? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13 at the moment. So
nobody's going to remember any of this. Nobody's going to remember.
No one will remember any of this. Unsanctioned. Anyway, just so I can say for that build, it's 4 women's tag teams where they all just interfere in each other's matches and no one wins or loses. That's it. But it just goes on and on and on.
I love the fact that the women's division, this is my favorite part with tag team stuff, and I mentioned it about Natty, which, by the way, it wasn't against Natty, it was about creative. Natty's an incredible talent and actually a multi-generational talent. But why do they do the women that tag up have to love each other and be best friends? They have to be BFFs. You notice that? They can't just be like, we're in this, we meld well. We got the Korean Martel kind of formula on this, except we're both good. And then, to get that, but they have to be best friends. Like they go out to the movies together and all this stuff. And then when they turn, it's like my best friend turned on me. It's so bad.
Well, Hulk Hogan had the same thing, though. His heart was still broken over Tugboat decades after, I'm sure. I've got to mention this as well. You know, right? So it's Nia Jax and Lash Legend, yeah, who are the Irresistible Forces. Why are they not called the Immovable Objects? Or you could say it's the Irresistible Force Lash Legend and the Immovable Object Nia Jax. I think that'd be so much more fun.
I don't know what you call them. They're going to be broken up in 3 months and feuding anyway, so what's the big deal?
That's fair enough. Unsanctioned match, Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu.
Unsanctioned. You have to tell us what this all means. I know it means they're going to go everywhere, that it's going to be so violent that WWE cannot sanction this match. But guess what? We'll still put it on WrestleMania. We don't care about the lawsuits now, as long as we're drawn. I mean, we got to really break this down. This next one, I feel bad. I feel bad for Drew because I would have really personally liked, and I am biased, but if there was a dude that deserved to go into WrestleMania as a heel champion, it would be Drew McIntyre. Why do they always get cold feet when it comes to Drew? You ever notice that? You can only do it so many times.
Did they beat him into powder? I mean, Cody Rhodes just kept beating him. Then he finally won. Like he won like one match too late as well. But that kind of just came out of nowhere, and then he lost out of nowhere.
But my problem is we're in creative. I want to see Unreal. I'm looking forward to, if they do a 3rd season, to explain why you're taking the title off Drew McIntyre. Please gaslight us into thinking that Drew isn't over. Please gaslight us into thinking Drew is not, at least, at worst, an interesting heel. Tell us, he's the Chelsea Green of the male division.
Next match, this is only just made on Raw. Logan Paul, Austin Theory, and IShow Speed versus the Usos and LA Knight, which is there.
Yeah. What I'm going to say is, they said, we don't know what to do all these people. Throw them all into a bucket and make a tag time. That's it. I would say Logan Paul and LA Knight, especially at this point. Why? These guys have stood out on their own. These guys have done so much to get over on their own. And you're literally just giving them like, hey, we gave you a match at WrestleMania, pal. What are you complaining about? I love whoever did in our group chat, whoever did that reimagined casino table shot of everybody who's just celebrities, and of course Hunter's right in the center. I Show Speed and all these different celebrities. I forget who was in it.
Yeah, it'd be Jelly Roll and I Show Speed and whatever else. The thing is, right, with I Show Speed, I think he's pretty entertaining. I think he's pretty good with Danhausen. LA Knight interrupted one of his streams a few days ago and attacked him. So they've been a little more creative than they otherwise would probably bother being, I think, because there's a celebrity involved. And this is kind of a bit of a throwaway match. But I don't have low hopes for this, but it's also an opening kind of thing. Or, it's like one before like a major championship deal.
Do you think they're going to open up and bookend like potential main events here? Obviously, the last match was the title match, but do you think they're going to open up with, say, the girls' tag team title match? It's going to go 25 minutes.
Oh, yeah. They did that they do that for years now. If it's not in the main event, they'll do it in the opening match. But I think like Rhea Ripley, another triple threat match where she won. That was it.
That could be an opening too. Rhea and Jade Cargill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, but this match here, like you said, this is a great warm-up match. Great match. It's going to have a lot of action. Interesting because of the celebrities, especially I Show Speed, who's nowhere near a full-time wrestler, to see what he does and how he does. It'd be funny if the finish was Braun Breaker whiz ready and comes in and spears him like he did at the Rumble.
Brock Lesnar and Oba Femi. This is actually worked out as a build, and it's so simple. Two immovable objects or irresistible forces collide, and the new guy's getting the better of Brock every week.
Yeah, it's very interesting because you assume as a wrestler all the momentum Oba Femi has getting over on Brock as a babyface, that Brock's obviously going to go over at WrestleMania, but I'm not so sure. This is the reason why this is so interesting is not only because what's going to happen. Now Oba Femi looks like a threat to Brock Lesnar. He looks like he's on his level, even though he's very green compared to Brock, but also who's going to win. We really, truly don't know, and that's what makes this match underratedly very interesting. And you're right. You don't, what did Dutch say all the time? Just smack me across the face with it, right? This is simple, and it's smacking everybody across the face. And I don't know why. There might be even a little bit of, I don't know, an abstract factor to this that just, we don't know why. There's more than just two big guys, and also the new guy versus the veteran, and the new guy's getting over on the veteran week in and week out. But there's some kind of abstract interest that I have in this that I can't quite put my finger on it. They both have the it factor. Let's put it that way.
Do you know what I think it is? Is that, yeah, it's fine. This will be Trick Williams' first WrestleMania. It'll be a couple of people's first WrestleMania, but not really. I'm trying to think who else it might be. I Show Speed. But the thing is, with Oba Femi, he's the only one from NXT who's been thrown straight into a main event spot. And it's the Yokozuna push. You've got a big monster. Just throw him out there, smash him over, let's see what happens. And that's exciting. It's exciting because he's a monster, and wrestling just doesn't have enough monsters, because you're always going to gravitate towards the freaks and the people you just can't see every single day. And two, it's got huge implications, way more than anybody else who's come up from NXT in years, I think. So I think that there's a couple of reasons why that's more exciting than most.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Also, I'm just saying a little Easter egg here. Pat McAfee in his promo, when we get to that, kind of alluded to this. This is why we like Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar are not 5'5" guys going 25, 30 minutes, right? While these guys have to take a back seat to that. It's really interesting, and there's something here in the real sense of this is how should I say? This is literally an advertisement for the developmental system within WWE, for the Performance Center and NXT, to see we can make stars that can hang with legendary stars that have been in the perennial main event for now decades, if you think about Brock, off and on. So and Brock being a legitimate UFC fighter as well, puts another bit of credibility on Obafemi. And the only thing missing is these two training for the road to WrestleMania training montages or weekly vlogs on their training to get ready for the match. I want to see more of that.
Thing at the Iron Man match.
Yeah, or even Punk for his UFC fight, the 4-episode kind of vlog leading up to it. Yeah, but definitely I wish there was more people training to get ready for their matches and showing us that in relation to that.
Next up, Seth Rollins and Gunther, which is just such a weird match. I know Seth Rollins, he did a promo on Raw yesterday as we recorded, trying to build it up, but this only came about last week because Gunther, for no reason that has really been established, attacked Seth and then put the sleeper on him. But the reality of the situation is that obviously he wanted Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker. Bron Breakker is apparently not ready to come back to competition just yet. So, but it all seems like they've only really just worked this out in the last few weeks that's going to happen. So this is kind of just a placeholder match, really, to get both of them on the show because they're both big names. They've got to do something.
I kind of think that Gunther, for him, Seth coming back from injury and now, once again, a babyface, has at least something where he can go after. Why isn't he having a singles match with Logan Paul or something? I feel like there's different matches. I feel like with Gunther especially, and no offense to Seth Rollins, I'm just talking about he's been gone, he's come back, and he's actually got his focus on something completely different. And you just kind of throw this, for lack of a better term, side quest, to use a video game term, of Gunther. But Gunther's had all this momentum retiring people. And you don't have a spot for him from Rumble to WrestleMania? Dude, that hurt. This feels like a step back, or more than one step back for Gunther. Like you said, both guys don't deserve to be put in a placeholder match. They deserve to be put in a match that people can sink their teeth into, that forwards their creative progress in WWE. And this doesn't do that.
And last match announced, Finn Balor versus Dominic Mysterio. I've got something to put to you as far as a build-up, is that I kind of think they missed the boat on this. They should have pulled the trigger on the turn months earlier. Do you ever get the feeling that it just dragged on for a bit too long and now it's like the 9th most important match on a 13-match card?
I feel like either the Rumble or Elimination Chamber should have been the full turn and now them battling each other. When Punk started to get in Finn Balor's ear after they had that match in his home country where he was a huge babyface, the week after that or 2 weeks after that should have been really heavily planting the seeds. And then was their match? Their match was before the Rumble, correct?
I think so. It was like a week beforehand. Can I to just correct you? It wasn't his home country. It's Northern Ireland, Belfast, Northern Ireland. He's from Ireland, which are different countries.
Sorry about that. His home planet, just like Poochie, he had to go back to his own planet.
His home British Isles, which is correct technically.
Actually, thank you, YouTube commenter James Romero.
I'm sorry, it matters.
We probably would have 20 of those. You're right. We probably have 20 of those. We appreciate our international audience here at the Stevie Richards Show. But yeah, they should have they had 2 pivot points, either the Rumble or the latest, the Elimination Chamber. This feels rushed and thrown together as well. Do you agree with that?
No, I think it's the opposite rushed. I think it was just dragged out because they wanted to get it to WrestleMania, but it's like, you got to... Here's the problem, though. All those 4-match PLEs, there's just not room for, Finn Balor and Dominic.
There's not room for angles or storylines either, right?
No. Celebrities involved in WrestleMania, of course, Pat McAfee, of course, I Show Speed. Jelly Roll will probably be somewhere. Lil Yachty, who I think is a celebrity in the looser sense. He is some kind of rapper. I never heard of him. Probably most people have never heard of him. He's going to be, he's kind of like Trick Williams Oscar to Trick Williams Mabel, I guess. He's going to be his, like Flavor Flav. And he was on the internet a couple of days ago crying that people were saying that he didn't deserve to be there and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no one's telling you don't deserve to be there. No one cares.
Travis Scott saying, hold my hardcore championship belt. It's a little Yachty. Yeah, I was saying who the entire time you got to that name. Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, I don't think little Yachty, man. Just look at the reaction to Travis Scott and you'll feel better about yourself. But if the internet is really on him about not wanting him there, we may have our new AdSense Cal with little Yachty.
Ooh, maybe.
Ooh, yeah.
If he bursts an eardrum or something, Mike, think of the content.
Yachty, come on. Dude, why haven't you slapped Cody yet? What's going on here? He's got one ear left. Hey, you got a good ear. You got to go get it. Yeah, I can't even. My God, was that Tony Gray stroking out?
You've got an ear, you've got a hand.
Good Lord, I don't have a voice after that. And you want me to do Savage? My goodness.
Dude, I want you to do a sunset flip and a do-si-do and win them tag team titles. Do it for Rick Martel. We did that on a house show. Dude, we did it on a house show. Dreamer and I did it. And Gurria was pushing us for main event WrestleMania after that. The office didn't favor us, but one person in the office for a week thought we were the greatest thing ever. And guess what? I'm sorry, we'll stop the record. Hey, don't wrap me up. Don't wrap me up, cameraman. Remember that Austin promo? God, I wish they brought that back, that kind of stuff. But I was going to say, it's so funny because if I was still wrestling, you bet your bottom dollar that I would have a tag match and then someone would come in to break it up or for the finish. I would get up and just walk towards the ghost in the corner. Now we can wrap it up. Excellent. We're wrapping that bit up. Right, okay. We're going to talk about Raw. We're going to do news in general. For goodness sake, we've got so much to talk about with the news, but this is the... Right, CM Punk did the original Pipebomb promo, like 2011, something like that, 15 years ago. And he's said occasionally, oh, this is going to be the next Pipebomb, this is going to be the next blah, 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 it's going to be the next one. I think this is the interview that... Am I right in saying this might have been the closest to the original one, or was the one in AEW that was closer? What do you think? Apart from the Brawl Out one, which was amazing.
Yeah, definitely. This is definitely the closest thing that a pipe bomb on John Cena, on Vince McMahon, on the Be a Star Bully campaign, on everything you talked about, Johnny Ace, Stephanie, every Triple H. Let's not forget about that. All those people. This is the closest thing because Punk addressed so many elephants in the room outside of Roman Reigns. I'm talking about mentioning TKO, mentioning the ticket prices, and being the vehicle for TKO and WWE to back off of the super expensive prices. They're using Punk's pipe bomb to get themselves out of this corner with the high ticket prices. That's my belief.
It's interesting. Right, we're going to get to all that later. We are going to mention it in the body of this segment, but we're going to go on the ticket prices a little later because I've talked about it a lot. We've talked about it a lot. Mentioned it to Dutch a couple of times as well. It will come up again. But let's go to the full interview, really. Quite a lot of it's going to be quotes. Others just going to be me versions of it. He starts off with Houston, because Raw's in Houston, a wrestling town. Talks about Paul Bosch, and then he asks what Harley Race would do in certain situations. Did you ever meet Harley?
Yes, I actually met Harley, and then I witnessed Harley slapping Vader at a convention in New Jersey. Vader had done something. Harley was in the wheelchair. I saw him do this, and he just started lighting him up. And he was mad, and then Vader just kind of calmed down. I don't know what happened. Somebody had pointed out, like, Harley's reading the riot act to Vader, and then just Gail Kim slap right to the ear. So I don't know what happened there, but it calmed down very quickly, and I was just like, they're like, dude, Harley Race is downright terrifying that Vader backed down to him and even he said, come here, knowing that he was probably going to do something. As Harley Race is in a wheelchair, Vader still just... And, immense respect for Harley Race, I'm sure he had. But at the same time, people are scared of Harley Race, even in a wheelchair.
CM Punk obviously is mentioning Roman Reigns a lot because this interview is partially to talk about, their main event and build up excitement for it. Says Roman Reigns, who have attacked each other, is not here tonight. And he mentions this time and again, I won't keep mentioning this, but what do you think? Because I'm still not sure who the babyface here is in this one, which is always, they're both in shades of grey, but he keeps mentioning Roman Reigns is not here. What do you think of that tactic as an interview ploy, I guess?
Well, we've seen this play out a multitude of times. We're talking about Punk with The Rock. We're talking about Punk with Cena at a certain point, Cena with The Rock, then Roman with Cena, this whole part-timer thing, right? We've seen it happen a multitude of times, and it's kind of one of those things of that part is a little bit played out. And I understand where Punk's coming from. Like, he showed up after the beatdown. Roman didn't show up after the beatdown, and Roman had his cousins help him beat him down, and Punk still came back. You made an excellent point on the pre-show, which might have been before the pre-show. How does this build up your opponent for the match? He's almost making Roman less than, not prepared. He's only a part-timer. His heart's really not here or something like that. And he's not even a superstar or a movie star like The Rock. He even buries The Rock a little bit. There's a lot of different things going on here. And I think, talking about the pipe bomb, the reason why it's the pipe bomb is because he just cast a wide net to bury everybody. Both in the realm of storyline and both in the real world. Roman, when I can watch the promo, I was like, he's zinging him. He's hitting with a lot of truth, a lot of reality, but he's also burying him to a certain extent. So if Roman goes over, a nobody literally beats you. A part-timer who doesn't care was still better than you. Is that the impression you got?
Yeah, there's other things. Further says that Roman Reigns had everything handed to him, which I mean, kind of did. I mean, from the off,
suffering succotash, right?
Yeah. I mean, he had that line handed to him. Quote, I understand why this company, why TKO sends you, this is Roman Reigns, your belt. I've run this through the thing, so it's not got every word right. Your ass to Jimmy Fallon. It's because you're safe and you're boring and you're plastic and you're saccharine and you're manufactured. And me, I'm dangerous because you never know what I'm going to do or what I'm going to say. And when you do bother to show up, you show up late. You gleefully leave early and you puff your chest around in the back like you're The Rock. At least The Rock is a Hollywood superstar. Oh, I'm sorry, was a Hollywood superstar. We'll get to The Rock in a minute. But yeah, he's throwing more things at Roman, which is kind of... Is this not what the IWC would say about Roman Reigns, and how much reality really is there in it?
Excellent. We got a tale of two presentations in this company right now. We have the casual fan approach with creative, and in the same show, sometimes the same hour or even the same segment, we have the internet version where you want to shoot hard for the smart marks. And you kind of mixing it as a great effort. I know what they're trying to do. They are now trying to create all the chaos in a way from WrestleMania 40 within 2 weeks of WrestleMania 42. And I have to say, the Punk, when he cast that wide net, he says all these things. He said some things that are pretty memorable, but at the same time, you left out one other thing. You're only here because you're a failed football player because you sucked at football.
Oh, so no, that's coming up next.
Oh, sorry. But I'm saying, like, he's making it look like even WWE's a place when you're rejected from real sports, come into WWE, which Roman could turn around if he hasn't and said, well, you're the worst UFC fighter UFC has ever seen, which is true. There's a lot of people knocking everybody. Like, nobody's going to mean anything by WrestleMania 42.
I'll get back to The Rock in a second. See, my bloated cousin isn't on the board of directors. I don't surround myself with wise men and advocates and yes men who want to protect myself from the truth. No, my daddy wasn't a pro wrestler who gave me a favour job because I sucked at football. No, I have paid my dues and I've earned and deserve everything I bust my ass for. So, yeah, that's what you were... you're just a buck-toothed Nepo baby who ate... Okay, we'll get to that bit in a minute.
Roman has excellent teeth. He has the implant teeth. I don't know what the buck teeth.
He has lovely teeth.
But he had the same thing I had. And he got crowns and veneers.
Is it ever an accident to bring up The Rock's name in these things? Do you think they have to run it by The Rock himself to sort of greenlight this thing? Or... Because there's three ways here. Because you can say, do they always have to greenlight it? Should they greenlight it, but this time they were just so upset with TKO that they're just trying to get a rise out of them? Or do you think this is all just manufactured from the, from the bottom up?
That's an excellent question. And that brings back the memory that Punk did a promo a while ago. Do you remember this? And it wasn't cleared with The Rock or TKO, and he wasn't on TV the next week. I don't remember what it was. It was a while ago where he cut a promo. He said some things, and they weren't approved, and he was off TV. There was a big to-do about that, and I forget what promo it was, but it was much like this one where he was walked outside the ring. I think he stood up on the announce table. He cut the promo. That was supposed to be the pipe bomb, I guess. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, if TKO is approving this promo for the ticket price part, wow. That's an even bigger story than The Rock's ego. And Rock's pretty lean. He's not even bloated anymore. I know what he meant, though, when he said bloated. We all know what he meant.
Well, he also said Rock is a Hollywood superstar. Oh, I'm sorry, was a Hollywood superstar. Well, hey, if nothing else, I mean, that awful Christmas movie was the most watched thing on Prime ever, I believe.
Red One.
With J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, Red One, where he supposedly was peeing in water bottles and having his assistant take it. There's all this big to-do, like a Jared Leto in the Suicide Squad, kind of is a menace. Yeah, but I mean, he's referring probably to when Rocky tried to take over the DC universe, and that didn't quite work out. He was trying to book himself instead against Shazam. He was trying to book an angle with Superman.
Yeah, did he show up in another film? Did he show up in one of the Supermans in the credits or something? Or am I misremembering?
I don't know that. I don't remember that. I know Superman showed up in the post-credit scene of Black Adam.
That's probably what I'm thinking of there. Where are we now? So Roman, okay, because we're going to get back to this in a second for its own kind of real deep dive on it. But you are just a buck-toothed nepo baby who ate dog food for a weird old man, and that weird old man for years treated me like a dog, and he expected me to smile. But I had FU money, so I took that and my dignity, and I left. He did leave.
I
think for leaving as well, I think he made a ton more fans. I think that built him, leaving on his own terms like that.
Well, I mean, CM Punk, the character is counterculture. It's counter-corporate. That's why I said way back, maybe Punk eventually should turn into corporate man Punk. That's a good heel run right there. But when he left, and everybody knows about the FedEx and getting fired on his wedding day and all that stuff, he's an underground favorite that way. He's very polarizing, especially with the internet fans. But polarizing means you either watch because you love him or you hate watch because you want to see him get beat up. It's kind of a double-edged sword in a good way.
Roman, you can brag about how many times you've been in the main event of WrestleMania, but if me or anybody else were afforded as many opportunities as you have and sucked at the first 8 of them so spectacularly badly, we'd be fired and blackballed. But you can't blackball me, they can't blackball me, and listen up, I can gleefully stand on the bridge and blow it up because, bitch, I know how to swim. But just before I forget, in this promo he referenced how rich he was twice.
Yes. That doesn't really endear yourself to the fans.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, who's the babyface here?
Well, here's the thing.
Punk is more, because with the ticket price and everything.
Yeah,
but
I believe there's, you'll have less FU money if the ticket prices are low, Punk. So you kind of booked yourself into a corner. I think it'll be okay, everybody. I don't think we need to start the GoFundMe just yet on Punk. But I would look at it this way. There's very much something to be said, and that's a pun, about not so much the words the wrestlers say in the promo, but the emotion, inflection, and delivery of the words. Like, it could be white noise, but the way Punk delivers is like, wow, that's intense. And we're picking apart the words. I'm not saying people don't do this, but when he says, I have FU money right now, people almost say, oh, he can stick it to the man that has more FU money than him. Like, he's still counterculture. It's a very weird dynamic that I can't quite explain, but I don't think people are going to indict Punk because he referred to himself as being rich twice. If he said, I got so much money, I don't need this for you, the fans, that's completely different. But he turned it around and became Robin Hood and said, we'll get to the ticket prices.
Do you know what I wanted to just mention as well is that this Punk promo and then Cody Rhodes when he came back out after the Pat McAfee thing. We'll talk about that in a bit, I assure you. But I thought that was his best promo in years because the first time he hasn't sounded like he was memorizing his lines, and apparently he wasn't. He just had bullet points and went out there. And it's like, do you see what happens when people don't have bullet points? One, you get in trouble with corporate, and two, it makes for much better TV.
The last time he did that, I believe, was during the Kevin Owens storyline, where he really seemed bothered, mad, angry, and most of all, focused and determined going into the pay-per-view, or in this case, I think it was Saturday night's main event, where he brought back the Winged Eagle belt. Please bring that belt back again.
He's gone. He's gone for another 20 years, probably. Anyway, you would think I'm done, but I'm not because everybody's getting it tonight. Pat McAfee, you buggy, whipped-armed, no-brain hillbilly. You think you can come here to the business, my business of pro wrestling, and run your mouth? Well, you just wrote a check. Your narrow ass can't cash. You want to talk about ticket sales? Do me a favor. Call up that agent that was foolish enough to shoehorn you into this business and this show and tell him to lower the ticket prices. I'll be damned if stupid script thing. To have you, somebody kicked a football for a living, come to my business and talk to me about selling tickets and putting asses in seats. You've got a receipt coming to you. Houston, lower the ticket prices because I want all these families to come and watch me stand on Roman Reigns' throat at WrestleMania because my name, you see, is CM Punk, and I have approved this message. We'll get to those last 2 points later on. Overall, interview-wise, does it get your 2 thumbs up? Because it made it more interesting. It's the best one they've done.
Yeah, they recovered from the malaise of this push in the WrestleMania. This is definitely a 10 out of 10. You can pick it apart for anything with the money or being rich or anything, but the theme of this is definitely something, by the way, that this company and the business could use a lot more of. Maybe not too much. You can't have it all the way down the card of everybody shooting on each other, but you definitely need to sprinkle it in. And if anything, the main event should always have another layer or multiple layers of reality infused into them. Do you agree with that?
Dear God, yeah. That's it. I watch so much Memphis wrestling, and every single promo is like this. It feels like people talking to you, not like actors on a stage, over-inflecting everything. That's why I like the Cody thing. I asked Dutch about it, and Dutch actually didn't like it. And I don't even know why. I couldn't even quite gauge why I didn't like the Cody rebuttal interview. But I was like, man, I liked it way more because it just felt real. The thing was, Dutch was always great at making it sound real. Lawler was great at making it sound real.
It was the perfect amount of whatever emotion in the promo to escalate this and escalate the interest and anticipation for this. It looked like it was going to be a boring, safe main event. I got to give WWE credit for at least trying to infuse different things into this, like McAfee, although there are some points about the McAfee thing that just, you can't have it both ways, and we'll get into that whenever you want, but they're trying to have it both ways, meaning McAfee and WWE, because he does have a show outside of wrestling and just kind of falls short one way or the other.
In your opinion, was this a entirely workshoot interview, or do you think where everything was approved by everyone who was mentioned, including the ticket sales, Ari Emanuel, etc.? Or do you think, because there were reports out from Friday after SmackDown and subsequently where they were saying that WWE has a lot of internal frustration with how TKO are kind of sticking the raw in with certain storylines and making things more difficult than they need be. For your money, do you think everything that Punk said was pre-approved by everyone it needs to be pre-approved by, or do you think maybe WWE or whoever is kind of giving him carte blanche to insult some of the TKO crew with this?
I do think that. I do think that there was a little bit going off the reservation and just ask for forgiveness and not permission type thing. I think WWE and Hunter were looking at this saying, this is really flat. We need to put something into this. They told TKO and maybe even The Rock, we're going to start having kind of a shoot interview, and gave them the Roman stuff and maybe The Rock too, a little bit. I was going to mention The Rock part-time, but there was a certain part of Punk's promo where I believe it was supposed to be over, and he literally said, "Oh, you think I'm done, but I'm not done yet." I think there was parts in that were, they did not feel like the wrestling pace hit the bullet points. It felt like, oh yeah, by the way, I got to bring this up. Did you sort of feel that? That it was,
Yeah, but it's nice.
It was kind of fragmented in a way where it was Punk's thoughts and emotions and not a wrestling promo.
I like that. But
I
also,
do too.
he's never screaming at me like a promo. That's the thing. I still say Punk's the best in the business at interviews, and I think he has been for a long time, because he, at no point, I mean, sometimes he's had off days, but an off day for him is still a good day for most other people. But when he's on it, it feels like he never feels like he's yelling at you or memorizing lines. He feels like he's talking at you from the heart, whether he is or isn't, and that makes him the best, in my opinion.
You know why I think this is right up there with the Pipe Bomb and one of his best promos? Because Punk's weakness, as most wrestlers' weaknesses are, unless you're so over the top character, just like a Cena or a Hogan, when he panders to the fans and talks about how much he loves the fans, that's the weakest promos to Punk do. This is the CM Punk where you don't know, should I like or should I hate him? That's the most interesting Punk right there.
Is WWE, do you think in the future they could go for like a war with TKO and position themselves as the underdogs of the corporation that they are a part of? You know, kind of like a very weird version of an Austin Rock thing. It's Austin McMahon thing, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know how a WWE company that's worth over $9 billion can like be seen as an underdog, but they could parlay this into a new corporation kind of thing. You know, someone to rail against.
That's very interesting. As a matter of fact, when Punk said McAfee's agent, I was thinking of Ari Emanuel. I don't know if that's his agent, but
it is.
He's still, well, there you go. He's talking about TKO again, that Ari Emanuel is responsible for the high ticket prices. So they're shooting all over the place. This here, and there's the perfect person to book the angle you just talked about. You know why? This has vibes of ECW on TNN. Don Callis is with the network. Now we have, and you have Paul Heyman, if you wanted somebody to write that angle that has the pacing and presentation to recreate it correctly, that would be it. Here's another one. He mentioned him, kind of, not by name. What if it is Hunter versus Vince? Vince represents TKO. Hunter represents WWE.
Funny you bring up Vince McMahon, because he seems to be constantly being brought up in WWE promos. They've been hinting at him occasionally the last few months. They even showed a few snippets of him. Did they show snippets of him with John Cena's retirement video or something?
Yes, I believe so.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, that was the first time he'd been seen on TV since, I don't know, the beginning of 2024.
Actually, the SmackDown. Where you been? Where he came out and they were holding the children up.
2 weeks in a row, Vince McMahon has been mentioned. Last week, hinted at, I should say. And it was last week with Stephanie McMahon, and Cody Rhodes was like, yeah, I'm not like my father. You say I'm not like my father, but you're not like your father either. And everyone, ooh. And Stephanie should be like, whew. But then they brought up Vince McMahon. And then yesterday, CM Punk hints at Vince McMahon again, describing him as a weird old man making Roman Reigns eat dog food. Was that a segment I forgot about?
I'm looking and I said, they did. Vince used to say all the time, you got to eat crap, pal. I eat crap, pal, and all this stuff. But I'm thinking, like, when I saw that and heard that, I was like, is there some kind of like humiliation ritual where you need to eat dog food to get a push? Because I was never even figured into that. I mean, I don't know if you put the dress and the wig and the dog food, I'm just not sure what I would do. And Vince would literally, I don't know, maybe I'm just jaded. I could literally see Vince saying, if you really want it, pal, you got to eat the dog food.
Right. So I thought I was like misremembering or forgetting, like, that there was a dog food eating segment with Roman Reigns. Am I going crazy there?
I don't know. They made Trish bark like a dog. I mean, there's some I mean, he did have a big picture behind him on the couch. Remember in the Zubaz of him and Brutus, his Rottweiler or whatever it is.
Okay, right. This is Yahoo Sports has actually written about it because someone has said, did Roman Reigns actually eat dog food? Intended to generate heel heat, the moment instead, hang on. Before Reigns became the tribal chief, he was the big dog, a persona that never reached the heights Vince McMahon envisioned. On December 6th, 2019, SmackDown, Reigns was handcuffed to the ring post by Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler and doused in dog food.
Oh, I remember that. Then there was a match where the loser eats dog food and Baron lost it.
Okay, so fans rejected it, epitomised over-top cringeworthy book. 2019 was a bad year, man. Reigns bounced back, blah, blah, blah. I have no memory of this. I don't think I was watching much in 2019. It was just that bad I gave up.
Well, 2020 said, hold my beer. Then we got the eye for an eye in the Performance Center when Seth Rollins came out. Then we got to find the guy that fell asleep against the plexiglass because they made everybody stand. You remember that guy? I still can't find a screenshot.
Oh, speaking of 2020, I heard this recently. You know that the actual main event for some reason was Drew McIntyre and Big Show, and like they filmed it like after the Brock Lesnar match or something. After the pay-per-view went off air.
Yes, they did. Yeah, I remember that.
I had no idea about that. I missed that one out.
Yeah, it was like a super pre-taped match between Drew and Big Show. I do remember that.
When did they air it?
I have no idea. That whole thing is a blur in the wrong way possible.
We need to let's get back to this. So anyway, I'll get to suggestions of why Vince has been mentioned recently. But this is what Lance Storm said last week because he was supposed to do a Raw review and he just said, I saw the first segment and I turned it off. In today's day and age, I can't believe we are using Vince McMahon in a storyline and being told you are not Vince McMahon being taken as an insult. I'm sorry, I stopped watching when the initial Janelle Grant case came out. I gave them a break when I'm doing air quotes here, retired and left. When they brought Vince McMahon back, I said, I'm not watching. Now he's part of a storyline, and I just find it incredibly, in bad taste. Is that about right?
That's about right. Lance put it beautifully. I don't know why this also bringing up Vince even as the old man and your father and all this stuff and dipping the toe in the water, because that's exactly what they're doing. It's a mix between dipping the toe in the water and the other word that I can't think of any other word but this one, desperation. It's sort of like, I can't even think of like how you're taking an awful chance of either generating the interest by bringing up such a polarizing character or completely turning off a good portion of the audience that you're reminding, oh, now I have one more reason not to pay the high ticket price. And now I have one more reason not to tune in the 12 commercials on Netflix. Am I wrong? It's a chance you take with this. And they're doing now every week leading up to WrestleMania. Who knows what they're going to do on the go-home shows.
Do you think that they genuinely think Vince McMahon is a draw still? Or that they have to lean on the McMahon name, so like they did with Stephanie last week?
100%. I'm not saying Vince alone, but we know now they are leaning on the McMahon name, and Triple H is technically a McMahon. They're leaning on these personalities to get the full-time people over. They're even referring to The Rock. They're referring to TKO. They're trying to just cast, like I said before, that wide net to see if anything's going to bump those ticket sales up, while what they're doing with the Punk promo specifically, going back to that, they're admitting that they tried to fleece the fans and now they need a reason storyline-wise to bring the ticket prices back. I believe they're going to have a ticket sale. Punk's going to get on social media or something, if he either via text or video, with the code, I don't know, screw TKO or CM Punk as a discount code leading into WrestleMania. Do you agree with that?
Do you see, oh God, yeah. Do you see, from fan sentiment, do you think that the tide is turning towards Vince McMahon as far as fan sentiment goes? Because, you know, all these allegations came out over 2 years ago. It's not the perfect phrase, but, you know, time heals all wounds kind of thing. And, you know, the further in the past something is, the more you just forget and move on from allegations that he may or may not have done. There's some stuff that he's definitely done, or pretty much definitely done. But also, it just seems that more and more people, I mean, every time I release a video about Janelle Grant or an update with the Vince McMahon stuff, there are more and more commenters feeling more comfortable that they want Vince McMahon back, or that Janelle Grant's a liar, or a gold digger, or whatever it might be. And it just seems that more people are comfortable, you know, espousing those views, essentially. Nothing's been proven, of course, at this point. But they were really shocking allegations that, you know, Janelle Grant's never wavered from. And with, like, a couple of updates of affidavits and stuff, basically built more around the allegations and given more details and stuff. But I see more and more fans hating Janelle Grant for one reason or another, and wanting Vince McMahon back as well.
Yeah, I mean, I see that sentiment as well. And that's not just exclusive to pro wrestling. It's football, sports, even entertainment to some point. There's a certain period, it's the opposite of the honeymoon period. It's the pitchforks and torches period. And then it gets to something. Here's the thing with wrestling too, specifically, outside of football and everything else. A 6-month storyline feels like 6 years sometimes, right? So the wrestling calendar is much different than even real. And even the 24-hour news cycle in general moves so fast. You can have a week-long story that feels like it's a year long. So to the wrestling fans that say these things or comment, the Vince thing feels like 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, when it's really, in a reality sense, not all that long ago. It's been going on for a while. Then there's the other thing that commenters say, like, basically, she was very agreeable to the whole situation. I'm just saying what other people say. And there's even people, the most excellent point I ever heard was, do you think if Vince paid her the $3 million, I believe, for the NDA, the full amount, we wouldn't even be hearing about this?
Absolutely.
Is that kind of true? Wasn't this all based off?
Yeah, I think if nothing else, I think that's absolutely true. That's the most expensive $2 million he could have ever cost himself, ultimately. I think we would not have heard of it. I think one of the biggest questions is that how did that information end up getting to the board of directors? Because that information was getting to the board of directors around the same time that the NDA was being signed. Could have even got to them slightly beforehand. But the thing is that I'm sure Janelle Grant had friends that she confided in or talked to that she may have mentioned this to before she signed an NDA. So legally speaking, you could just say, well, I told this person all about it before I signed the NDA, and then this person contacted the board, etc., etc. So that being said, Vince McMahon, I guess, had already known that he made the first payment of $1 million, the first installment, and I don't know if the other installments were in $1 million or 500,000 or whatever they were. But after the first installment, he heard from the board that the board had gotten wind of this. He was worried that Linda McMahon was going to get, his wife, obviously, his estranged wife, apparently they'd been estranged for a while at that point, was going to get wind of this and be publicly embarrassed, which she has been. And I'm still not sure if they're divorced yet, or if she ever filed for divorce. And that's why he stopped paying. It's because the board caught wind of it really soon after the NDA was signed.
Yeah, there was all these other theories that sort of there was going to be a coup or Triple H, Stephanie, maybe even Nick Khan were trying to push him out. And that's when he turned around and said, we're not going to do the sale unless I approve it, which I need to be a part of the board. Am I off base with that? There was
it gets
where
worse than that, because there's currently a lawsuit out with supposedly confidential information, messages between Nick Khan and Vince McMahon and other people like that.
Well, that's the code word ones, right?
Yeah, they're trying to get each other to text each other on Signal and stuff. But these are the ones that aren't on Signal, where it looks like they're admitting that the Vince McMahon retirement, he was always going to be gone. And they said, well, you go away for about 9 months, then return. And he came back after 6. So that is part of this shareholders lawsuit, that Vince McMahon never had any intention of selling it to anybody other than going with TK, essentially creating TKO.
I'm laughing at that because he literally got the Johnny Ace or Jim Ross, whoever's in charge of talent relations, basically got released and said, hey, you're always welcome back.
Mm-hmm. As was Johnny Ace, because he was back in talent relations, and then he was bumped down to being an agent, and then because I think Vince McMahon had to pay $1 million on his behalf for him to sign an NDA with somebody completely different, and then he ended up in talent relations again. It's a massive.
Punk's, I was going to say, Punk's promo is truer to life than you think when he's talking about Roman Reigns, and I'm not talking about Roman in this thing, but the theme of it is, you can just keep failing upwards and doing whatever if you're politically and they love you or whatever. But if anybody else messed up one millionth of the time that they did, you don't have a spot, pal.
Are they teeing up a Vince McMahon return? Are they testing the waters constantly, or do they just go to Vince's name or allude to his name for the shock value and then they leave it for 6 months? Is it just a desperation ploy to get more interest and make it seem more real in the run-up to WrestleMania? Or do you think there's a plan to bring him back again?
It's both. They dipped their toe in the water. They tested out. This is a focus group type thing. And if people aren't clapping back, and like you said, as time goes on, more and more people are like, just bring Vince back already. She's a gold digger. She's this, whatever name they're going to call her. The tide, at least on the internet, seems to be turning somewhat. But remember, if he peeks his head up, and he gets back on TV, don't you think that opens up more of a public relations, or possibly more NDAs being exposed, more people coming forward, which I would say, why aren't you doing it piggybacking on Janelle Grant, the lawyer, all that stuff, which I think they have claimed there are more people. I'm not sure about that, but there has been people that said there's more than these 19 NDAs out there. Which, by the way,
it was 19. It was like 19 point something million that he paid out through WWE.
Okay, I've heard there's a lot of NDAs out there. That's just pure speculation. But well, even if there's one more NDA, who's that person? What's that look like? You said 19 million. The promised payout to Janelle Grant was 3. If one person is getting $16 million. What happened there? I'm just speculating.
Oh, no. From that 19 million, there's like 7 different people. There's
no, but
Marie,
I'm saying
Chatterton.
is, okay, well, you're splitting it up. So if that's 2 million a piece or whatever it is, 2 million and change, what's going on there? What I was saying was, if it's one person that's 16 million, what in the world did he have to do to pay 16 million? But now you're talking about something that's no less worse. How many people are these 16 million, and what happened in those relationships or whatever you call them?
Yeah, the $19 million, I think that's split up like between like 6 or 7 or 8 different women, because there was a woman accusing him, like hotelier who worked at a hotel, accused of assaulting her. There was that woman in like that tanning salon ages ago.
Zanzibar.
Marie Chatterton, etc.
Zanzibar. He showed her the flip phone pictures.
Oh, God.
Allegedly,
of course. Right. One more thing that Punk brought up, 2 more things really, if we include Pat McAfee, but we've got to go on to the ticket price climb down, which is very, very, very interesting. Why would they mention that why would CM Punk mention that in the promo at all? 1, if it was approved, and 2, if it wasn't approved. It's a very, very fascinating thing. Because that, I'll quote here. You want to talk about ticket sales? Do me a favor, call up that agent, Ari Emanuel, that was foolish enough to shoehorn you into this business and this show. He's basically calling the boss of the boss of the boss of the boss a fool. And this show, and tell him to lower the ticket prices. I'll be damned if blah, 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 about selling tickets and putting asses in seats. Houston, lower the ticket prices because I want these families to come and watch me stand on Roman Reigns, etc. That, with the lowering of the ticket prices, got the most prolonged cheer out of everything he's said. So it's not just, and every single person there practically paid for those seats. They all feel it, and I bet a lot of them feel obligated to buy tickets because they want to support the product.
It was just, in my opinion, but educated opinion, 100% approved. You know how much that could have tanked the stock or did something potentially bad for the stock price in the company? This was TKO and WWE, more so TKO, who was mentioned by name earlier in the promo, let's not forget about that. TKO's mentioned. Ari Emanuel is mentioned. Ticket prices are literally mentioned to lower the prices. Punk is being used as a vehicle, as an avatar to try to save WrestleMania as far as attendance. And the fact that he said, too, this is very much a Vince McMahon TKO debating talking point. Vince wants to bring families to the arena. Let's think about that. And Vince also is a big advocate for Punk. I'm sure he still is. He loved Punk. So I'm sure Punk said, I'm going to, if he even talks to Vince, I'm going to mention your name. That part is fine, even if it's not approved. But man, you talk about the financials. Punk did not go on. He did not go into business for himself. There's no way that there's far-reaching ramifications outside of just the gate at WrestleMania if you're talking about backing off the ticket prices.
You have both WWE champions within a few days of each other calling Ari Emanuel out. One, Punk is calling him a fool. Cody is alluding to Ari Emanuel as Pat McAfee's agent, and basically being self-serving as well. Both of them are, for booking Pat McAfee in an angle that he has no relationship to either person on screen. Do you think Ari Emanuel is also approving people alluding to his name and basically insulting him?
Yeah, I have a thought or a theory. You're talking about recycling certain angles and storylines. Are we looking at the birth of the recreation of the Vince McMahon angle, the Mr. McMahon angle, and Ari Emanuel might be coming to TV? Because think about it. The most successful era outside of financials, the most successful creative era that saved that company from bankruptcy was Mr. McMahon, Steve Austin. The dynamic there. The corporate guy who doesn't care about the fans, and these guys literally don't care about the fans and said so. You could have Ari Emanuel or Mark Shapiro or both coming on TV being the bad guys. And Triple H is now, who right now seems like the good guy, is now the underdog.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of thinking WWE versus TKO.
It puts a whole new light on Survivor Series, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mark Shapiro, Nick Khan, Ari Emanuel on one side.
But that'd be great. Against I Show Speed, Logan Paul, and Jelly Roll. I would actually pay for that match to see it just for my morbid curiosity. But think about this. With that, don't we have something? They have nowhere to go. They're creatively bankrupt. And when they look at the trends, just like Bischoff with the NWO being the man in the limo who they thought was going to be Ted Turner, turned out to be Bischoff. That was the hottest time in WCW. So here we go. We'll create our own Monday Night War with TKO versus WWE.
Brian Alvarez reported that prices are looking to go down soon. So if it wasn't obvious from Punk's promo, it appears that WWE is looking to lower ticket prices through the summer. Obviously, a lot of fans have been grumbling about this. Obviously, I suspect practically every fan who's bought a ticket or wanted to buy a ticket has seen the prices, and whether they paid for it or not, thought they were kind of ridiculous. You know, how expensive, especially the WrestleMania prices have gone. How much credit or otherwise do you think people like us should get? Because I think we deserve a bit. I really do. Because between me and you and Dutch to an extent as well, we've done a lot of content on how expensive these ticket prices have been in the past 6 months. And people have always been interested in it. They've always been really well-performing videos. So it's hit home for a lot of people. And it's always at the forefront of fans' minds as well. But I think it's good that a lot of content creators have not let up on this either. And I feel that WWE are feeling the pressure.
Yeah, I would say we're a little bit more responsible with others for the 2K26 kind of reversal right now with, grinding out hours and stuff. I believe they didn't care until the numbers started to be affected. until people stopped coming, until the WrestleMania 42 pre-sale, even with the winter code and the sale, didn't bump it up enough. They got desperate after that when they pulled that. And leading into this, even though they'll probably still make a ton of money, I think the move from New Orleans to Vegas, maybe paying the fine to New Orleans, and then maybe it's a break-even point on the site fee, like you said before, that they're looking at like, man, and they're in debt. They were like, what, $3 billion in debt. And they said, that's why we're raising the ticket prices to pay off the debt. Am I wrong with that?
That was on the UFC end. That was entirely on the UFC end as well. It wasn't WWE. They had no debt.
Yeah, but I think when they bought all this stuff, they incurred debt all over. It's just under the whole umbrella. We may have like lit the fire and stoked the fire with the fans to get them to not act. No, you know what I'm saying? Their inaction is an action of saying, I can't buy these tickets. We didn't look at like what the sales were on Raw, SmackDown leading up to WrestleMania. And also, I think what's more important is how many tickets for both nights of WrestleMania 42 are sold or not sold.
I think they're both over 40,000 for each night now, but WrestleTix are generally the most reliable people who come up with the numbers for these things. They've not released a WrestleMania one for a week, so we would have to see. But it'd be interesting to see if there's been a further bump after Raw. I had a look on Ticketmaster
not a
beforehand.
Bump, but the price,
definitely...
how much has the price has decreased? I'm sorry.
They haven't. I checked that 400 a ticket for the worst seats still.
They need a
and
Punk
you have to
code.
Buy two, by the way.
Punk's got to be the flag bearer. Punk's got to they got to film him literally going to the ticket booth at Allegiant Stadium and saying, how much are tickets for this? How much are they? You know what? They're too damn expensive. Turns to the camera. Use code. It could be FUTKO. You'll get like 50% off your ticket. I think that would be a great way to lean into this and get Punk. He'll be a babyface after that. No doubt.
I think it's a great way to really anger a lot of fans as well who paid full price.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. That's like the AEW where they bought it and then what was that, the stadium show in Australia?
In Australia, yeah.
Yeah, the Australia show. Yeah, you got to feel stupid now because this here actually affects, unless you start off with every pre-sale after this one with really affordable ticket prices. How can you, now the pattern's going to be just, nobody's going to buy the pre-sale if they're going to wait for Punk to do a promo to cut him back. This is a very slippery slope. I've used that term before. Where do you go from here?
I'll tell you where we go from here. You go to Fee Free Friday, because that was WWE's latest discount that they did just this past Friday, where there'd be no fees attached to the tickets you bought through Ticketmaster for your WrestleMania 42 deal. So yeah, they actually did another flash sale, would you believe, afterwards.
Yeah, but come on.
Here's one more thing to
the
add.
Fees compared to the price, you might as well, the only way you're going to get people to go, wow, is you only pay the fees. That's it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, there's one more thing to mention. Do you think there's any correlation between WWE finally potentially climbing down on these prices and AEW and Tony Khan? Tony Khan's been sending out his guys, MJF, Kenny Omega, etc., and they've all been pitching AEW as the affordable alternative. Don't pay 10 times much, blah, 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 for half the wrestling. You come to AEW. There's too much wrestling, quite frankly. I mean, those shows go on for like 5 hours. When we went to Manchester, we had to go an hour early. It was 10:30. I was getting tired, and apparently they went till 11:30. But there's two schools of thought here. One, is it a good look for AEW to basically say we're the family-friendly option? Ignore the death matches, but we're the family-friendly option. You know, you can bring your whole family, and you won't have to, quote unquote, remortgage your house. One of them said, or does it? Will the perception be that it'll be a lesser live experience because they cost so much less and they're advertising themselves as cheaper?
Wow, I thought it'd be a simple answer, but when you put that last part into it, and being a business myself, and when you talk about with the cameos and all that stuff, there's people that think my cameos aren't good because they're less than a lot of people on the Cameo platform. when I sold my resistance band programs, they were only $10. People said, I really thought this was going to be bad because you don't charge 100, 150 or whatever. There is a segment of the audience or the consumer that feels that way, that it might be a lesser product because you don't pay as much. But I would say in this economy, there's a lot more people that are going to take the chance because the investment, plus, even though you might complain about 5 hours, think about the value you're getting for your money, for the amount of wrestling you're getting. There's something to be said for that. I think they should have leaned into this months and months earlier, don't you? We've been begging them to call out WWE for how unaffordable it is.
Okay, so we've left this alone for a while now, but we've got to talk about it. Everyone else is talking about it. The hottest topic in wrestling, amazingly for quite a while. Pat McAfee, he was revealed as the mystery caller. So the mystery caller, for those who don't know, I'm sure you do, but Randy Orton was hearing the voices in his head. I've heard one theory saying that maybe there was no one on the phone call and that it really was the voices in his head telling him to, do Cody in. And that would have made more sense.
Oh, that would have been super cool. That would have been actually right on brand with the character.
So it turns out that, a couple of weeks ago, Randy Orton turns bad guy. He kicks Cody Rhodes in his nutsack and he goes down. And that was all done really well. But they didn't really give, as we've said for quite a lot of these builds for WrestleMania, they've not really given much chance time-wise. Everything's just kind of happening within 6 weeks, as we said earlier in this episode. And then he was doing the phone calls every week. And then on Wednesday, they released a video coinciding with AEW Dynamite at the same time, with Randy Orton in his own house saying, I'll see you at Friday in St. Louis. And then he looks to his right and he's got a photo of Bob Orton Jr. and Sr., I think I'm right in saying. Hinting it might have been his dad or hinting whatever was going to happen, the reveal was going to happen that day. Anyway, it's Pat McAfee. So, it was Pat McAfee who's got no relationship to Randy or Cody in storyline whatsoever. So, you watched it on Friday. Were you as taken aback as everybody else?
Yeah, when he got into the ring, I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised about what was about to happen. Because as I term it on the indies, Pat McAfee was the radio DJ that showed up to be a heel. Pat McAfee's wearing sunglasses and the RKO shirt. I know that gives it away as well. But something about the demeanor, the attitude, the sunglasses, and then, the kick is obviously, everything looked good physically. But the promo, everything he said was a pipe bomb within itself and was actually the truth. But then I'm saying, how is Randy Orton a heel? Because a lot of fans want to see that. And even when he said, this is no longer Randy Orton's hometown, St. Louis, Missouri, the fans cheered anyway. It's a very tough spot. Did you notice all that? That they were cheering the promo. Except for the Cardinals, except for all the home teams leaving and stinking and all that stuff.
I've got a question for you. Why did they book any of this in St. Louis? Because they know for a fact that Randy Orton's already getting cheered. He's meant to be the bad guy. Why would they book a face-to-face with Randy and Cody in the first place?
That is a great question. I had to double check. I was like, wait a minute. Has RKO everybody St. Louis, Missouri? I go, they're doing this in Randy Orton's hometown, and they expect Randy Orton to be a heel, and then they bring Pat McAfee, and I guess they thought when McAfee said, this is no longer Randy Orton's hometown, that it was going to turn everything. They only booed about, the low-hanging fruit, basically. Your sports team stinks, and they booed that. But they didn't boo anything they were doing to Cody. They're really, I don't know how this is going to play out.
Yeah, well, they only have 40 people on creative. Could none of them figured out, hey, why are we doing this in St. Louis of all places?
Well, they weren't geology or geography majors, I guess. They don't know. Maybe they don't even, maybe it was brand new writers brought in and they didn't even know where Randy Orton was from. I mean, either way, it's really, you talk about no self-awareness of any sort. I think Randy probably thought it was funny. Oh, yeah, sure, I'll be a heel in St. Louis. How's that going to work out for you?
We'll get to the meat of the promo in a second. I think everybody knows by now, but the most interesting thing is that Pat is obviously by now, because everyone knows, Ari Emanuel's personal project, it seems. He only represents it. He used to be with CAA or whoever, one of the major agencies, I don't know. And he used to be a talent manager, essentially, talent agent. And then he did other things. He worked with Ticketmaster, etc. Whatever his relationship with the UFC. But anyways, an incredibly well-connected, powerful person in media. And he took on Pat McAfee as a personal client because he felt he could be the next Sylvester Stallone, was the quote. He only said that a few weeks ago. And I said, man, he'd be lucky to be the next Brian Bosworth in films. You've watched Stone Cold, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. My goodness, he's more like a Neil Breen or Steven Seagal type character, in my opinion. Oh, you got to watch Space Ice talk about Neil Breen and Steven Seagal. It's my guilty pleasure.
What was the one with Gene Simmons in it, where he's an
Runaway
action guy?
with Tom Selleck.
Thank you.
That was actually a great call classic. That's still way above McAfee. You say Sylvester Stallone, and I don't know if Chris got my look because I'm thinking about Pat McAfee in the Rocky series would be an absolute abject nightmare. And I'm sorry. That's what I'm saying. When McAfee comes in to be a heel, it is the independent wrestling radio DJ coming in for the tag match as the heel. Hey, brother, we're the best. Now I have sunglasses. I have a big belt buckle. I'm a bad guy. Then you get that like, oh, come on, man. This is people making pretend to be wrestlers.
It was his body language, because when he walked in, he was doing that the entire time. Did you see that? Because I was just thinking, why are you hunching your shoulders? Are you cold?
He does this big, like, whatever it is with, and then he gets on his show and he's I guess, here's my thought, going back to that. The company and creative probably saw, like we had talked about, I think with the Pat McAfee, when he left commentary and he said the business passed him by, people were turning on McAfee to a certain extent. I think what they were trying to figure out is, let's just go with this. Once again, the internet fans, not so much maybe the casuals, but they're literally booking towards those people. And I think that's why they did the McAfee. Not even a turn. He came out. Cody looked dumb. Dude, they've done so much over the past however many years to literally make Cody look stupid. He's looking at him. You got an RKO shirt on. You're walking like the radio DJ heel. And Cody stands there and says, oh, let me spread my legs out a little bit so you can get a clear shot at my balls. Unless his reaction time is as bad as mine in my 50s, I don't understand this.
I know how to make it better. What if Cody Rhodes was looking away from Pat McAfee, and then Pat McAfee brought in a bone and was about to hit Cody in the back of the neck, but then Cody sort of just walked off and went to the other corner first?
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, if you're definitely a fan of do-si-dos and sunset flips and smart asses and all that stuff, then that would be the finish for you. How about this? Cody's beating up Orton. McAfee slides in. The camera doesn't even see him until he's there and does the China uppercut. Low blow. It was so like disconnected and made Cody look very stupid. But he brought it back with the promo, but you know what I mean? It's so dumb.
Just to reference what I was saying before, you have to sign up to the Patreon. That was the watch along that's coming up this Monday. It was a Tony Gurria match. We watched our first Tony Gurria match, and
maybe our last.
Lends itself to the finish. Definitely our last. So anyway, TKO. It was a TKO call to have Pat McAfee there. A couple of interesting bits. Firstly, as I'd said before, and people I'm sure know, Ari Emanuel is the agent of Pat McAfee. This was an Ari Emanuel call. He basically said, we need more celebrity to sell tickets to this WrestleMania 42. Don't laugh. And here's the other thing, as you smiling at me. And here's the other thing. Pat McAfee initially said no.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Apparently, that's the story, is that he actually turned them down at first and said he couldn't, whether he couldn't make it, I don't know why he turned them down, whatever reason it was. He's probably just too busy. But then whatever they'd done, they convinced him to accept. So that leads us to believe who would have been the mystery caller if it wasn't Pat?
It would have been your idea.
Travis Scott.
It would have been nobody. Or maybe they were dipping their toe in the water and it could have been Vince. Maybe it could have been Hunter. Maybe it could have been Stephanie. Could have been. I think it's definitely, if it's not Pat McAfee, it's one of the McMahons.
Do you think if it was on the phone, like you could just hear the bit of the speaker and you could just hear like little clues it was Vince McMahon, like, oh, sorry, pal, I was just in a threesome or whatever it was. Or we're leaving that in.
Well, if the caller didn't have his pants on, then it was Vince. They'll shout out the Master
Imagine if they put a third person in the match and then Vince McMahon came over, we're going to, like Teddy Long used to do with the tag team match, we're going to make this a threesome.
I mean a triple threat match. Event. I mean that. No, I actually meant the first thing.
Right. Corporate synergy. That was the excuse to have Pat McAfee in there, because obviously you've got to be the Sylvester Stallone coming up of the next Sly Stallone.
He should have a flywheel belt buckle to go with the synergy. The flywheel.
You got to keep them ripped trousers up, man. What can I tell you? How many times did you see Pat adjusting his sunglasses that he quite clearly had never worn until getting into the ring?
Well, that's what bad guys do. They are so like, I mean, I thought he was going to David Caruso from CSI Miami. Looks like Cody has lost his balls. Yeah, from CSI Miami.
Dun, dun. Do you know what? I was thinking, because like those sunglasses look so big on his head. I was wondering, like, who did you borrow them off? Boris Zukov?
He borrowed them from LA Knight, is my guess. They look like LA Knight sunglasses.
Well, I was just thinking someone with the biggest head in the world, like who just like stretched them over
Maybe
time.
Horace
So like
Hogan?
any normal-headed person is what?
Boris Hogan.
Oh God, yeah.
Or it could have been Big Show is visiting friends or something, and like, or Mark Henry. Here's my sunglasses. I thought that too. I go, man, he borrowed LA Knight sunglasses. What a nice gesture of friendship. Also, the belt buckle shoulder shrug. I mean, come on, man.
Dude, I know I said this in my video, but he looked like Nosferatu when he walked in there. Just like, and then did the deal. Right, let's get to what he said in the promo, because as you say, he said a lot of things that, okay. Triple H, you remember that guy?
I've heard of him.
He claims he does not listen to online criticism regarding WWE or wrestling. And now he has apparently created a character for Pat McAfee that entirely mimics what the online criticism is. So if he doesn't listen to or pivot is the word he hates, or pivot or anything like that, but now he's got a Pat McAfee character that's basically representing the internet wrestling community at large, I guess, the hardcores, to get cheered.
Yeah, that's about right. Or I'm going to stick it in their face. Ha! There you go, internet wrestling fans. I'm going to make it look like you're absolutely right, but you're absolutely wrong. And I showed you, you saw. It's another guy, some you might have heard of, said that.
I'm liking it to, like when AEW Tony Khan brought Dan Lambert on to basically mock Jim Cornette, and people started cheering him.
By doing what they did, there are some acts of desperation. We can all, I think, agree on that. There are hot-shotting these angles into WrestleMania about 2 weeks from now. But also what you do, like I said, you can't just do this and then after Raw, because the Monday after WrestleMania is probably going to be a hot show as well. You can't forget about all this stuff and then go back to kayfabe, brother. You can't go back to milquetoast and vanilla. But something tells me that's exactly what they're going to do. Generate the interest, hot shot these angles. The only thing I can think of is Punk mentioned McAfee, because we are going to get the tag team of Punk and Cody versus McAfee and Orton at Backlash. Am I wrong with that? Then we're going to have...
Yeah, I think it's going to be Cody and Jelly Roll. Got to get more celebrities in there, brother.
Well, I think SummerSlam is going to be reserved for more of that. They're going to do all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, what do you do? I'm not saying that like it's right to listen or wrong to listen to that online criticism, but you can't deny and just say, wow, what a coincidence that was, that after all these clips came out about ticket prices, we got promos about ticket prices. Come on.
Let's get to the interview then. So Pat says the following. I think he claimed on his show that he didn't have a script, but he probably did. Or at least bullet points. He says a month ago he did a Q&A saying he wasn't going to return to WWE anytime soon because the wrestling business had passed him by. I think when he was doing that video, this was not even a remote idea. I think he genuinely thought he was done. And now they're kind of like retconning all these things in to try and make sense of it. Which, once again, you can't make sense of it because it's a guy who left WWE. Can I ask you this? Pat McAfee is a celebrity in North America. How big of a celebrity is he? I mean, in the sports world, I guess he's a pretty big name. He's the host of College Game Day and that. But in the wider scheme of things, is he a huge name, a middling name?
He's a huge name in the sports analyst, sports commentator world. To have an ESPN show, and have pretty much creative control. As a matter of fact, to the point where in the beginning, I believe he was calling out the executives of ESPN and Disney, and he was being really like on them, plus the amount of tens of millions of dollars for that ESPN deal, 90. So that's a pretty big deal in the sports world. McAfee, but of course, McAfee can also get a little bit stale at this point. You know, you kind of build him up. You want to break him back down. I'm not quite sure where he is in that, but he is about the biggest name, I would say. He was right up there, I would say, fame-wise with sports analysts, right up there with Skip Bayless, of having the notoriety or the infamy that Skip Bayless had. You know, but he's making
Stephen A. Smith, because even I've heard of that guy.
No, that's another name. Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless, right there. As a matter of fact, I think Stephen A. Smith's in political throat-cutting mode, trying to, keep his money and cut everybody down. But no, it cannot be understated for Ari Emanuel to see that you have the potential to be I can't even say the name, Sylvester Stallone. There's no way. There's some potential in there, and McAfee draws. He really was a big bump in people wanting to watch the WWE product when he came on the commentary team. He's delivered every match he's ever had. I'm not saying that, but then again, I don't know. McAfee can be either liked or he can be hated. So they're kind of moving in a direction that half the people could still like him. He's a big name. That's basically how I could sum it up in the sports world. Here's what I would say, just a point on that, getting to his show, which is the next point. I feel like when Pat McAfee talks football and sports, especially football, it's a great show. But I feel like when he starts talking about wrestling, people like AJ Hawk and other people that aren't really diehard fans just kind of go, oh, okay, let Pat have his fun with his wrestling. I feel like also maybe half the audience or more tunes out and says, I don't want to watch stupid fake wrestling. Do you kind of see how that could happen?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, he's also let's get to that because this is kind of last on the situation here.
By the way, I admire Pat McAfee for everything he's accomplished. I remember when he had like terrible cameras and he was holding the microphone in like a basement or something. He's literally made a name for himself and is an inspiration for content creators like us and ones everywhere. So let's not get it twisted.
Oh, no, absolutely not. On his first words on the Pat McAfee show, let's see how this goes. Let's see what happens. You don't think there are multiple layers to this stuff? We don't have a lot of time until Mania, just a few weeks away from 15 world titles being secured by Randy Orton and the business being saved. I think we got off to a good start. 20 years of history between Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. That's the point. 20 years of history between those two. Let's insert Pat McAfee. Randy Orton is the greatest. He walks in a room and everybody goes, that's what a WWE superstar is. That's what a sports entertainer is. I'm happy. No one has ever used the word sports entertainer ever outside of being directed by WWE, by the way. I'm happy that I got a chance to be in the ear. Now is the time to save the business. Was there ever a script? No, this is real. Which is kind of weird. So, like, now Pat's on kayfabe, where he now has to go on a show while promoting WrestleMania, saying that WWE sucks.
On ESPN that works directly with WWE.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that.
It's very odd.
Well, here's the thing, too. I'm just saying, and I do this, too, by the way. Being a former wrestler and now still being in the business as an analyst, commentator, whatever you call it, when I watch Pat, which I don't do as much lately because it's just weird how I don't consume long-form content anymore, podcasts as much as I used to. When I am interested in his NFL takes and interviewing NFL people, I do what most people who are sports fans, especially football fans, do when he starts talking about wrestling. I look at my phone, or I mute the TV and wait for it, or I just say, I'll come back to it, or pause the live stream and then fast forward through it. That's not a knock on wrestling. It's just two completely different demographics in a lot of ways. It's not like gaming and wrestling. I think those are more aligned than NFL and wrestling. Even though you have fans within the league, people are still saying fake wrestling. Who cares? And you're right. It's almost insulting to the audience that we're talking about football. Now, even First Take on ESPN and other people, you're expecting us to believe that this crap is the same as our real sport? Give me a break. Can you see the fans doing that?
Yeah, I think so. It's always a bit of fun, though. I think a lot more people are aware of pro wrestling and kind of what it is. And, you know, you don't get... Isn't that all the fake stuff? I think everyone's kind of in on the joke these days, though.
Yeah, but when Pat goes into...
It doesn't get as derided.
Yeah, but when Pat goes into saving the business and we need to keep it fresh, and they're like, come on, just wear your underwear and fight.
Don't tell that, Pat. Because he may wear underwear and fight.
Well, according to Punk, his narrow ass can't cash any checks anyway.
Yeah. Let's go to the promo.
He didn't get a
Pat
spine
says,
infection. At least I have an excuse for my narrow one right now.
Pat says WWE has gone to absolute stuff. Then says Randy called him and said... Here's the thing. Pat says Randy called him. Randy was seeking Pat McAfee's advice here and said it's not wrestling, it's the direction of WWE is the problem. The forgotten WWE fan from the Attitude Era fan who loves Steve Austin and The Rock, and then he starts doing impressions, and then everybody starts cheering because they love Austin and The Rock, which the WWE has done this for 25 years. Hey, do you remember those guys you loved 25 years ago that have never been eclipsed star-wise? Well, they're gone. But we have Pat McAfee and Randy Orton here for you, so, you know.
I was about to say... all the people you loved at WrestleMania, to sell WrestleMania, we're going to let you know none of them are going to be there.
Pat also then says that we're now forced to watch glorified midgets do 45 Iron Man matches for 10 weeks straight when there's still guys like Randy Orton in the company. When was the last 45-minute Iron Man match between two 5'5" guys?
He was embellishing, but he wasn't wrong. And Bruce is probably back there going, what do you expect? I can only have 4 matches.
These 45-minute Iron Man matches, I'll tell you. He then says he tunes on Netflix, the inference being WWE Unreal, with all the people in gorilla position. And then they bleep this out. And then on the YouTube, they blurred his mouth out as well. They didn't for some of the other swearing. They did for the F word, but they didn't for other stuff. But they bleeped out him saying circle jerking themselves. This was
I've been vindicated once again. The gorilla, the country club ass kissing still continues.
Pat then says WrestleMania tickets are still somehow available when Randy Orton is around. Which, once again, why would you say that in an interview? You are saying we're terrible and it's Cody Rhodes' fault, who's the babyface, while Pat is being cheered and Randy Orton's being cheered. It's so weird.
You might as well put gas prices up on the Titantron while you're adding the cost of food going up. Give everybody a reason not to buy, right?
Says, yes, WrestleMania tickets aren't selling because they're too expensive and they've run the same city. Oh, no, sorry, he didn't say that. I'm saying that. There's loads of reasons why they're expensive, for goodness sake, and Vegas is expensive, and Iran and America's having a big old fight at the moment.
Today's Bridge and Power Plant Day as we record this, by the way.
Good, yes. Israel has destroyed one of the oil refinery infrastructures in Iran, so that'll make everything cheaper. SmackDown, fresh off the worst rated episode of all time, he said. And I was like, what? Because the TV ratings have been going up. Turns out he was referencing the cage match ratings, the fan-made cage match ratings, which mean nothing, only for that SmackDown to be usurped by the SmackDown Pat McAfee was on, that now has the record for the worst rated SmackDown on cage match ever. He also said that Cody Rhodes is a puppet for a champion for WWE, and he is a man who represents everything we, as I guess the Attitude Era and prior fans, hate. And then he goes, kick his ass, Randy. And then at one point, Pat goes, yep. Like jumping Jeff Farmer as well. Pat then says that he was indeed the mystery caller, that he needs to kill everything, not only to win the belt. Randy Orton needs to kill everything, not only to win the belt, but because the business that Cody is leading is terrible and Randy Orton is going to save it. Once again, Pat McAfee keeps going on about the Attitude Era. What better way to bring back the Attitude Era than the ruthless aggression era Randy Orton?
Yeah, I'd say that about sums it up. Also, somebody commented on one of our recent videos saying, we are now not in the ruthless aggression, we are in the ruthless depression era. I love that. That's actually a good way of putting it.
Yeah, I think it may well be. Why Pat then? I mean, can you think of, apart from 100 people, who would have been better? I said Triple H. He's desperate to get on camera. Would have made all this. We would have complained about it, but that would have made all the sense in the world. But you could have had Kevin Owens. You could have had Ted DiBiase Jr. Could have had iShow Speed. They want celebrities. Him and Randy Orton have actually been training together. He's got more of a connection to iShow Speed. Who would you have preferred?
Man, I don't even know. If he wasn't involved with what he's doing, corporate man Punk would be good. Punk doing that and doing the company or the network or the corporation, TKO's bidding, that would be something there. I have no idea. I mean, that's really like process of elimination. Pat McAfee would have to be it. And of course, Ari Emanuel, this is a political creative placement. Ari Emanuel wanted Pat in that spot. He said, I have one wheelbarrow of money. Pat said no. Then he got Nick Khan. He has a wheelbarrow of money too. That looks good to me. Let's do it. So I'm not saying Pat didn't put his all into it. I'm not saying Pat is not a very passionate, from the cage match rating, internet wrestling fan, a smart mark. He's been more of an asset than a liability to the business. He's giving, and this is a scripted promo. Let's not kid ourselves. This was scripted. This was approved. But he also put everything he could into it. Now, I think some of the jumping up and down and saying, get him, Randy, yep, and all that stuff is a nervous energy because Pat is now a heel. He's overcompensating for it. But you know what? Too much energy can be brought back. If he just stood there as like jumping Jeff Farmer, yep, you can't draw more energy out of somebody. So let's say the enthusiasm and energy, a little bit too much, but we can work with that. Now, here's the thing. After what happens at WrestleMania, does Pat go away? And then all this was just to push WrestleMania.
I think Backlash. I think he'll come back for one match at Backlash.
I think what might happen is he maybe make one appearance on a Raw or SmackDown, but most of the promotion's going to be on his show for Backlash because he's just too busy. You're right.
So Cody Rhodes was sent out about an hour and a half afterwards. Supposedly, Triple H and co. was completely ignoring the social media backlash from the fans because they don't take criticism or pivot. But they sent Cody Rhodes out about an hour and a half later without much of a script, just some bullet points, and just told Cody, off you go, just say what you want, is the story. It goes. And here's what he said: "We got all dressed up in St. Louis tonight to find out who Randy Orton was talking to on the phone, and colour me surprised, it was Pat McAfee. That's like if Scott Hall and Kevin Nash talked about the third man in the NWO, and instead of Hulk Hogan, it was Disco Inferno." And people didn't even really respond to that very much. Pat, you stoner, grifter, Logan Paul without muscles, human hat rack, fly by night, you were going to get your receipt, and boy, I felt it, and I should have. You're a former NFL punter, but Pat, you and everyone who represents you, and I know who I'm talking about, can kiss my ass. And I don't think people picked up on the subtext until the day after that he was talking about Ari Emanuel, because he then follows up with, "Oh no, is that too far? What are you going to do? Fire me? It sure worked out for you the last time." What do you think of Cody's, if nothing else, delivery? Do you think it kind of maybe even took some of the sting out of Pat McAfee's the reveal? Do you think it put some heat on everybody? And yeah, just all around your opinion on it.
Well, my opinion stays with the theme of all these shoot promos calling out TKO, Ari Emanuel, the terrible product, the lack of any kind of substance or anything. It seems like right now everybody is saying how much WWE stinks. How it's not good in one form or another, including Cody. And now he's trying to be the rebel against the corporation. If they don't do a TKO as the Mr. McMahon character, then we literally have nothing after WrestleMania. Then it looks like the desperate attempt to get a 2-week kind of hotshot push on the top world title angles on WrestleMania.
We've got some what went wrongs here, and the first one is a pretty darn interesting one because it actually happened backstage, and it's not the only time an injury's happened backstage. Am I thinking Liv got injured at one point backstage? I can't remember. Either Liv or Rhea Ripley. Do you remember, Steve?
Oh, she got
there's a backstage
Rhea
segment.
Ripley got a concussion from getting hit from Liv with the chair, and that's how I think Liv got her push after that. Am I off page?
It was. Yeah, that was it. I knew it involved Liv, but I couldn't remember if it was.
She hit her with a chair, and
anyway,
she got a concussion from that.
So this ended up being quite interesting. Liv and Roxanne Perez are talking to each other quite closely, and then Stephanie Vaquer attacks Liv from behind, and it kind of got a little bit more real than I think they were intending to. So, Stevie, over to you. What went wrong?
Look, Liv.
All right, thank you very much, James. And yeah, this is one of those clunker things, head to head. You can hear the heads cracking. You've seen that in your European football. We've seen it in wrestling, MMA. But man, here we go. We're gonna go slow motion with this. Here we go, talking. Attack from behind coming right here. Oh no! Oh. Dude, it's almost like she caved her face in. Well, if you wanted to take them out, you did it.
Hey, can I ask, how short is Roxanne Perez? Liv Morgan's like 5 foot.
Dude, I think she's like Zelina Vega height.
Me.
If she's 5 foot, that's about all she is. Well, after this, dude, that's a neck injury right there. Look at the head snapping back on Roxanne. Oh, she put her head in the like, hey, you don't have a concussion yet, so let me help you out with that. She put her hands up there. Where did Roxanne go? She just peeled off. She's over here, behind there. I mean, what can I say? I mean, okay, that went wrong. There's your what went wrong.
Okay, but is it Stephanie Vaquer's fault, or is it those two's fault for standing in a line? Like, have you ever played like any from Call of Duty to Medal of Honor to whatever it is, and you just get like a headshot, like a double headshot from one sniper bullet?
Or you stand them up in a chorus line, sort of, and you can shoot them from the side or front to back. This is one of those things. I really look at the way she hits her. she's not trying to hurt anybody. She just, they made her run in and glom her, as we would say, from behind. She pushed her with the left. You see what I mean? She hit her, but she pushed her with the left hand. Are they out? I can't imagine them not having a concussion, or both of them.
So the most recent, if I can just pull this up, is it is believed that both Liv and Roxanne are in concussion protocol after they clonked skulls hard when Stephanie jumped Liv from behind. Hopefully we didn't just witness a disaster affecting WrestleMania, Brian Alvarez wrote. But yeah, apparently they're both in concussion protocol for one of... Has this ever happened in the ring? You know, like with referees or something, you know, that you're intentionally getting in the way because, you know, they're going to get hit and they're going to be knocked out and then somehow their head goes into the wrestler behind them. Does this ever happen?
Yeah, I told the story about Hurricane and myself locking up, and we butted heads on the lockup, and Fit Finlay was laughing because we were like Warzone wrestlers for the rest of the match. Sandman locked up with me at a house show in Asbury Park, and other times he locked up with me and headbutted my nose and broke my nose. To the point where I just jumpstart the match. I learned my lesson. But this happens a lot. Oh, WWF title match between Taker and Austin. I think it was Madison Square Garden. The Highway to Hell match, right? SummerSlam?
Yes.
He kicked
98.
Taker on the backdrop attempt. Taker would flip his hair up to no sell and stare the guy down, but he hit Austin under the chin. Happens a lot, dude. Never in a backstage promo usually, but
yeah, I'm just wondering how they managed it. Like, because obviously there was enough force to throw Liv into Roxanne, but still, like, should one have not just been stood off to the side, or Stephanie come at an angle?
No, so they have to, they're face to face, but when you get to a certain point, the safe way to do it in a way is start, like I did this once where somebody hit me from behind. I was so afraid of this happening. And when I cut the promo, I was talking to him. And then I said, when I do this, I'm going to whisper in the one ear. Then I want to go to whisper in the second, hit us. Because then my head is off to the side. And my shoulder is literally hitting him in the chest. I don't think they're going to do it again.
Well, they don't need to. Wouldn't it be, I'm not going to say funny, but wouldn't it be ridiculous if this ended up stopping the WrestleMania match because they have to pull, like, Liv Morgan out of the match for concussion? Wouldn't that just be the most bizarre way to, like, get injured?
Didn't we have somebody miss a major pay-per-view because of concussion?
Probably a lot of people recently.
Yeah, but even not so recently, I think there were certain people that missed pay-per-views. I mean, back then it was liver enzymes way back that people like Bobby Lashley would miss. But yeah, I mean, that's erring on the side of caution. And also, you had asked last week about the lack of house shows. Should there be more house shows? But we're getting injuries on backstage pre-tapes. I don't know how you fix this.
When do you think we're going to start getting injuries in catering?
I don't know. Unbooked catering matches, you mean? Yeah, they could. Stomach aches, food poisoning. Yeah, we could. Could be a real thing.
That's one of the more creative ways to get injured, but I still think the most interesting one of, like, at least the last 6 months was it like John Moxley or something? Just like he took his own, didn't he, like, trip, or he caught his teeth on the steps and ended up breaking his teeth?
I don't remember that. I didn't see that. I think the most comical, even though it's never comical and people get hurt, is still the boogeyman spelling his own name B as he jumps up and down like Pat McAfee did. Yep, but it's B. Oh my God! And blew his knees out. Then I had to pick him up to take his own finish.
Randy Orton as well with the, you know, when he's punching the mat before he was doing the RKO. Separated his shoulder. Sammy Guevara did something similar as well.
No, Sammy Guevara did something to Matt Hardy as well off a scissor lift.
And also shooting star press Jeff Hardy's head as well, we can't forget.
But yeah, there's certain, I mean, you know, these kinds of injuries are actually more common than the big moves, because it's so weird how the most mundane stuff can literally take you out of a WrestleMania main event match. There we go.
Next up, we've got two different angles from this. EO Sky, this is actually from Raw from last week. We kind of just didn't have time to get to it on last week's show. But quite a few people have written to us and said, hey, what about the EO Sky thing? So we thought we'd show it. The Javon Evans dive is quite similar to, maybe not because because Javon Evans went too high on the dive, but the landing is just as scary. And once again, we've got two views of this. So, Stevie, what went wrong?
All right, thank you very much, James. I have to say this is probably maybe not as bad as letting somebody power bomb the back of your neck against the corner of the apron, because that's what happened to her not too long ago. But here we go. I don't know what in the world. Oh, there it is. See? The old caught your feet on the rope or your heels on that top rope. Watch this. But she was already on a trajectory, you see what I mean? Of not going through, but down through here. In other words, instead of coming this way straight across for Asuka to catch her, she was going at this angle and ended up catching her heels on the rope. Let's go slow-mo. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right there.
Would it be odd for me to ask how this can happen one of the smallest wrestlers on the roster? Because you kind of associate that with one of the bigger guys or one of the taller guys to not get the feet through. Is it just once again just enthusiasm and being in front of live cameras?
It's also in this vein, I guess, based on the Javon Evans one. Asuka might have thought that she had more distance from the apron to this, because Asuka's already kind of like standing away from me. You notice that, like, she's going to dive into her and get further, but before that even happens, she's not even near her. You see what I mean? Just the threat of being dived on makes Asuka go down. But I think she thought this is even a bad catch. Look at this. That's not the way you catch. You put the hands out and almost grab, or the forearms, like I said with Jay Lethal. Look at that. Like her legs hit her. It's like the phantom dive. You see what I mean? What are you going down from? That's scary right there. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. She's probably going down due to politeness. You think?
She didn't want to hurt her feelings, even though she might have broke her neck. All right, let's go to the other one. This is the fan cam footage.
Yeah, you might want to zoom in a little bit.
I'm just going to play it. I'm okay. That's like I do. I got to get up, because if I stay here, it's going to start setting in. Boom. Let's go slow-mo. The only thing that saved her is her chin was tucked. That's not that. I mean, it's still literally landing on the floor. Oh my God.
How long does it take
Here's
you
what
to build
I'm
that
doing.
instinct in you to tuck?
That's what I'm doing right there.
How long does it take for you to build that instinct up to always tuck your chin?
In wrestling school and in your early independent career, every single time you hit the back of your head and don't tuck. So in other words, you're incurring concussions almost from day one in wrestling school. Before you have your first match, you probably already had 4 to 6 minor minimum, or a couple major. But dude, Kairi Sane is basically saying, I don't know if she's reacting off Asuka with the Phantom dive, or if she's like, oh my God, she got hurt again. It's like, no, I'm okay. Let's go.
Yeah, there's very few wrestlers who seemingly haven't got hurt, like got away with a really lucky escape, but then kind of act like they were hurt.
I meant to do that, right?
Right then. One more thing. This is quite interesting, and this actually goes to somebody who respected their neck's health, I guess, more than most wrestlers at the time. And it's Bret Hart, one of our favourite people to talk about, of course. And we've got some footage as well, not from Bret, obviously, but for other examples. Bret apparently refused to take the Razor's Edge. So, quote, his finish, his being Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, his finish where he would do that, where what we call the Razor's Edge, and he would pick you up and drop you on your head. I remember I go, nobody is doing that to me ever. I don't care. I would stand by that today. He goes, oh, don't worry, I'll set you down. And I'm like, not on my effing head, you're not. No way. There's no effing way. You're 6'6" or something. You're going to fall backwards with me. The first thing that hits the ground is my head and my upper back. I said, this doesn't make any sense. It's too dangerous, too stupid of a move for me to do. And I refused to do it, period. Bret further added, I didn't know him well enough to let me do that. I actually would never let anybody do that move to me just for the same reason that I said that I would never take a bump where I could fall and land on the back of my head and maybe break my neck. He says, once again, it's a very, very dangerous move to do, etc., etc. We've done the Razor's Edge before, and it almost seemed like there were two separate versions of it. One, where he kind of fold the guy up a little bit, and other ones where he, plant you more flat. This is in the early 90s. Obviously, Bret Hart, was WWF champion at the time, so he has a lot more stroke to be able to turn moves like this down. But was this more common back in the day than we realise, where, people, they were wrestling a lot more, and I guess they valued their health more, or else they wouldn't get paid?
Yeah, I think the example we talked about the Beverly Brothers with their finish, and I was saying, well, then nobody's going to want to work them because that finish was hard to take. And that could have, and you said they weren't in WWE or WWF back then for very much longer after their enhancement matches. And yes, there was a different bonsai drop for locals, especially if Yokozuna didn't like them. We've done that, talking about the difference in those. The Razor's Edge, outside of Rick Martel, I've never seen him drop a full-time roster member like an enhancement talent. Have you noticed that? There's one where he dropped Martel. It was literally on the back of his head. I think Bret was watching the enhancement matches and saying, I'm never taking that. And I don't know the timeline, but if he watched him do it to Martel, he probably said, I'm absolutely not letting him do that to me. And you know what? With Razor being in the clique, them being very politically powerful, I think it speaks to Bret's stroke to say, hey, no way, you can't do that.
I would argue this is actually Royal Rumble 93. I think that's maybe what they were referencing. So I think this is actually pre-Click. So, Diesel hadn't turned up yet, neither had Kid. And the Rick Martel thing would have been later on as well. Something else that Bret said that was interesting was that I didn't know him well enough. And I think that's very interesting to say. Like, you have not built up this trust for me personally to allow me to let you to do that move on me, for example. Is that something, you have said in those words to other people? It's like, my finish is this, that, and the other. Well, I don't know you well enough to do that to me.
To an extent, I don't think it's even put that way. Bret might put it direct and bluntly like that. But think about it. I said it before, that usually Bret gets it right. He trusts people that are close to him to be light. He's going to be light with people close to him. But in the opposite way in wrestling, in the inverse, in the bizarre world of wrestling, you actually hurt your best friends more than you do a stranger. You seem to take more liberties with people that you care about than you would a stranger. But Bret's kind of got it right. Hey, I don't know you well enough to do that. I don't know if Razor kind of harbored any kind of ill will or resentment towards that. Do you know if he did?
I don't know. I know in like later shoot interviews, I don't think he was Bret Hart's biggest fan, but I don't know.
Well, they said Bret was a mark. Didn't they say Bret was a mark for himself? They called him the $300,000 champion because he took less money to get the belt.
Well, in fairness, it was 92, 93.
That was still a good bit of money.
An option though, surely. Like Vince was saying, right, you can either be champion or you can be paid more. Vince would have never surely have offered that as an option.
My guess would have been you get paid more as champion, correct?
Yes.
Well, we can ask Bret if you ever get to interview him.
We'll see one day. Do you want to have a look at some of the Razor's Edge moves? And honestly, for your money, how dangerous is the Razor's Edge Outsider's Edge compared to, I don't know, regular Powerbomb, for example?
Well, I mean, we're going to look at some footage here, but you can obviously see when Razor, we use the Bret Hart language, I guess, when he doesn't know a guy and enhancement talent, he's going to drop him on his head. He folds him. And obviously that first impression in that era of the Razor Ramon Razor's Edge, of the Yokozuna Banzai Drop, all these different moves are much heavier and much more impactful to give that initial impression, right, of this is a dangerous move. And of course, these poor guys really don't have a choice in the matter when it comes to it, because they want exposure, they want to be on WWF TV. But here, we'll take a look at the first one right here. That wasn't as bad. And that was the Diamond Stud. That wasn't Razor Ramon yet, correct? I see the WCW. But he is dropping them. Boom, right there. That's high on the neck. And obviously, your feet are over your head and you roll. It's not the most fun to take, but I haven't heard about a lot of enhancement talents being injured from it, but I bet you they had headaches, sore necks, maybe even some sort of short-term discomfort or injury. Here's now the visual of this. Look at how jacked he is. The visual of this with the biceps, the chest, the lats, all this stuff, and his face, that makes the move. So you could land somebody flat, and this, the viciousness of the presentation before the move, really to me means more. But obviously this, that's very high, but still, I don't believe he's guiding them, but I don't believe Scott is driving them. Do you know the difference? The guy is sliding down off his back. Oh, now I think this is a big move right here, a big part of the move. Scott used to tell guys, really resist me, like really flex your arms to help me hold you up. Do you ever recall him saying that? Do you see how stiff his arms are?
Yeah, so it's like a crucifix, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But look at this guy. See how he's just kind of like, almost like hands up in the air, much higher, still safe-ish. I would have my arms out sideways. His arms are, this arm's almost up. This arm's kind of out, but more up. That's still pretty safe. This guy's kind of like butt heavy like me, where your legs won't fold over your head. This is where in the WWF WrestleMania 3 ring, super stiff. That one, you know what? I don't know. He landed him, but the guy did have the head touch. I'd almost prefer to fold over. You know what I mean? This is sort of jamming your head and neck right there. No, he's all like he took a body slam. Then they remembered, I better stay down. Ooh, this is very interesting. You were smiling, right? You knew.
No, I don't know. I've not watched through this.
Because Tito's wrapping his arms around his arms. You notice that? That's the main roster respect. But Tito, see how he's cupping his triceps? Right here? Tucking his chin. Nice way to lay him down. Now, this is definitely... Go on.
I was going to ask, with your opinion then, would you rather take a Razor's Edge, or would you rather take from Razor Ramon, or would you rather take a Powerbomb from Diesel then? What would you say was your best chance of, like, not really feeling it?
Oh, I've taken a Powerbomb from the jackknife from Diesel, from, Kevin Nash. I'd rather take the Powerbomb as much as it can. I haven't taken it great either. I didn't sit up enough sometimes for Kevin, and I apologize to him to this day. But I'd rather take that because guess what? They're both kind of terrifying because you don't see where you're landing because you sit up on the power bomb, and obviously here you're looking away from the bump. But I'd rather take the power bomb because for me, Kev can land you high, but it's sort of more flat if you think about it. He just kind of dumps you like Sid did. But with this, let's go back. Ooh, that's mostly the guy taking it. He rolled. Scott dropped him and he rolled up and almost did a little bit of a push-up and then came down on his side. Oh, the Beverly Brothers. He kind of stuffed him a little bit. That's Mike Enos. Oh, DiBiase.
This is Ted DiBiase, yeah.
No, he definitely did. I think the key is Scott going to slide you down his back and neck area? You notice that? Is Scott going to go to his knees and then his hands first? You see what I mean? And let go of you? Or is he going to drive you down by holding the crucifix longer?
I know I've asked you this before, where I've said, is there anyone, you kind of refused to work, and the answer was Brian Christopher. Was there any, move that you blanket always said that you wouldn't do, like Brett said with the Razor's Edge?
I think as time went on the indies, outside of Luke Hawks and people I trusted, I'd never take a pile driver. I'd still take the DDT, but after a while, I was like, I'm not so sure about that. So anything that would stuff my head or being upside down and not being able to control my bump, I would be very, very careful about that. Here's the Rick Martel one. Did he fold him on this one? Yes, he did.
And he did, yeah. Well,
see, he held on to the crucifix.
Because to be honest,
he held on to the crucifix later. You see the difference?
Mm.
What were you going to ask?
I was going to say, let's watch this one because I just want to see how IRS takes it.
Yeah, I was
going to say we could just watch all of these.
We're near tax time, so this is good. Yeah, he lays Mike down. One. And Mike looked like he was sleeping. He's like, I'll just fall asleep. Boom. Jeff Hardy.
There's Vanilla Ice.
Jeff Hardy, the early days. Ooh. Look at Jeff. Look. Now, I would say if you're taking this move, don't try to look back and don't try to put your arms down. And don't try to do convulsions to overcompensate, like knowing you took a bad bump. I know what he's trying to do.
We're going to call it there for a show, I think. What are we going to do next week? Because we kind of don't know. We had a plan, and then we kind of just completely
I think there's going to be more WrestleMania news.
Or something.
I think there's going to be more WrestleMania news leading into this. See how desperate they're going to get.
Do WrestleMania news. If there isn't enough, we could do WrestleMania 19 or something. Or did we do 17?
Yeah, because we talked about the WrestleMania X7 set that had to be brought down because it was too high. WrestleSlav.
So we weren't just doing right to censor. We actually did WrestleMania 17.
I'm not sure. But 17 was where the handshake happened between Austin and Vince.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we did.
Mm.
Well, if we didn't, we'll have to do it again soon. So next week, we could do more wrestling news. We'll see how much comes out because it's going to be the lead up to WrestleMania. The week after, what are we doing for WrestleMania? We're doing 2 separate shows, or are we just going to do one on... What do you think?
Well, you had talked before about doing recording on Sunday or Monday morning, I think, and then that will be our episode. You look so excited about it.
No, I know, because I record with Dutch on Mondays as well, so it's going to be Sunday recording, Monday a double recording, Tuesday... There won't be any Tuesday then, will there?
No, there wouldn't be. But you're talking about recording Sunday night. I think if we do Tuesday morning, we'll be okay.
Oh, dude, not a chance am I doing Sunday night.
Tuesday morning, then.
Because we just have to do it we'd have to do it Sunday morning. So I'd have to do it Sunday morning early, Monday morning early. And then hopefully I'd have time to do the Dutch stuff as well.
Yeah, but isn't it 2 nights, Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, but for me, it starts at Saturday. It starts at midnight. So it'd be Sunday morning, episode 1, Monday morning, episode 2.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. All right. Good Lord. You're talking about both night 1, night 2, separating the reviews.
Yeah. I mean, we could do.
Hey.
Yep. Yep. All right, then. Everybody, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm got.
Yeah. It's like riding the bull at the bar. Dude, I did the Ecamm live video yesterday, and he was like, "Oh, here's the settings for this up on the prompter," and I'm like, I had to put my glasses on and do the old. I need a 24-inch prompter.
You don't know how large I have the font on the screens now, man. I'm giving up practically. I don't want to have the laser eye surgery. It's too weird.
I had it back in '99.
I know, but it's like these days it like sucks your eye like a vacuum, and then it laser. Not into it.
You did the rain.
No, I'm good. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again next Friday for another episode of the Stevie Richards Show. Fresh clips Thursday. Oh, God, I'm stuck in the Friday thing. Every Thursday, the Stevie Richards Show is out, don't you know? I didn't. New clips out every single day as well on the YouTube channel, and the show can be heard on all podcast platforms as well. Over to Stevie to take us out the show before I get the day wrong once again.
I want to thank everybody for watching the show Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever day of the week it is, every single
Happy days
are here again. There we go. All right, I want to thank everybody. We do have Patreon, as James had said, the pre-show right before the full episode on Thursday, not Friday. You get that Thursday, 9 a.m. You get the show notes when we're recording right now every Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. And of course, hey, what are you going to do? Watch along about me? Yes, we are, Tony Gurria. Every Monday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, including behind-the-scenes tours, by the way, here on YouTube. We're going to have an updated behind-the-scenes tour coming in the following weeks, so please stay tuned for that. Once again, thank you for subscribing here. Please click the bell to get notified. Of course, comment below. And of course, like I said in the beginning, patreon.com/Stevie Richards. Thank you so much for watching episode 92 of The Stevie Richards Show. See you next week, smartass, for episode 93, of The Stevie Richards Show.